Boom, boom, boom. Boom, we're live. Let's do this. Where's it?
Hey.
How are you getting on? Hope you are all well. I have set up Streamlabs at the moment, and I wanted to get a pub for the background so you could really settle into the two Tankies thing and have the crack. But unfortunately, this week has been mental for me. See, my wife and I found ourselves in possession of a rescue dog, of another dog. We already had a dog, but we got a rescue dog.
Oh.
And she's adorable, she's great, but she requires 24/7 supervision. So we have to look after her. She just recently got neutered, so she's got like little stitches on her.
Oh, bless.
But my other dog is trying to like lick the stitches because, you know, like in a kind of caring way.
You dirty bastard.
Yeah, he's not like that. But he's trying to manky. Yeah, no. But the thing, it's funny because she's much bigger. She's much bigger than him, and he tried to get a little bit. He was getting a little bit randy at one point, and she got over on him and put him in his place.
Oh no, how the tables are turned, eh?
She literally, the turntables, as the kids are saying these days. How the turntables. But yeah, no, so she was
Hello, you know, 30 something.
30 now.
You say that now.
I'm trying to. I have to really catch up with the hip kids lingo. I'm gonna start calling things lit.
6 hours of revision, you know. You put down the theory and start picking up the Twitters and the Reddits and stuff.
I'm just going hard and heavy on TikTok these days, fellow young peoples.
Hello, fellow youths of the world. Let's go.
Well, see, youth is 18 to 35 or 45 or 55, isn't it? I've got
I don't know. I feel like as when you hit the upper limit, that's going to start going upwards. So you'll get to about 80. But, like, you know, I'm still a whippersnapper. I'm still one of yous, you know.
Yeah. We're all in this together. Like young fellas like you and old fellas like me. I mean, young people like me. I mean, we're all in this together.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. It's a mindset, you know. It's not physical anymore. 80's the new 20 or whatever it is, you know.
Oh no, you don't want to be the person who's making that argument that age is nothing but a number. You don't want to be the person.
Oh shit, no, we've already gone into the streamer arc. Oh no, I've been back on YouTube for that like 5 minutes, and I've already gone to that.
Oh Jesus, you're gonna get what do they call it?
I might go back into exile again.
Clip chimps. You're gonna get clip chimp.
Sorry, what? How many beers you've had?
Clip chips, just cracking into these desperados here, having fun. No, but I've been just mad busy for the last week. It's just literally been 24/7 looking over them because he keeps trying to lick the stitches, and you know, just out of looking after her wounds or whatever, but that can cause infections. Yeah. So basically, they're under 24/7 surveillance on my behalf. So.
It's Stasi,
unfortunately, but it's Stasi stuff right here. I was going to put a Berlin Wall between the two of them, but you know, I'm still working on it. I didn't get a second.
Is that not revisionist? You know.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, what was that? Understanding there was no wall.
It's a qualitative leap forward beyond the revisionist nonsense.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Nice save.
The fertilized stage of Berlin Waldom. No, it's but I did really want to have
it back a bit higher.
I wanted a really nice background. I really want a really nice pub background. You know, the points. If I get like a loop of a point being pulled, just the water just flowing. Oh,
God. So get some like thematic background music, you know, like a Skyrim pub or something. You know, it's got like a bit of a band playing in the back. The fire's crackling.
Fucking luthier in the background, just fucking around.
Laying off rich, you know, it'd be sick. If someone wants to commission us a loot for the next stream, then please go for it, you know.
To my massive luthier audience, to my lootist audience, the masses, please get in touch and we'll set up a loot gang.
I know that these niches cross over quite well, you know, communism and lootist, you know. We can make something work.
It's basically the same thing, like literally the same thing. But anyway, yeah. So that's why, unfortunately, I didn't get any time to do this because I was too busy trying to keep this little lad from licking the stitches and causing an infection, which could cause some serious problems. So
what's the breed anyway?
Now that's information I want to keep under my hat, under my hat that you can see.
Sorry, I doxed you.
Yeah, that's doxing. People are getting doxed for weird shit. People get doxed for like pictures of their dogs and stuff like that. So I'm just like, well, hang on, let's be careful about that, or like names or whatever, like all that sort of stuff, like for, you know, passwords and stuff like that, getting into things. Yeah, like what's your childhood dog's name or stuff like that, you know. So
what was the name of your first teacher? Takes you on Q&A. Let's go.
Stalin.
The eternal teacher. Let's drink to him.
Yeah.
Not even a first name, just Stalin.
He's like, Cher. What do they call it? A mononym or whatever. So anyway, I hope everybody's okay. I hope everyone will settle for having a massive socialist swan on the screen with a lovely looping blue background. I hope the people will appreciate that. Although I had to flip in Streamlabs, I had to flip the picture so that you were looking at me.
Oh my god, I'm huge.
You're massive, yeah. But unfortunately, the Guinness is facing the wrong way. Is the only thing. But hopefully people.
Yeah, I've done that a few on my thumbnail before, and I didn't realize that until like halfway through. But I feel like maybe it's into like a new dimension or something. Like you've had too many pints, you see in like in mirror view.
We can blame it on the audience. Say they're drunk.
Can I see? Yeah, you fucking drunk bastard. It's all your fault. It's not even Guinness I'm drinking.
What are you drinking at the moment? Go on, give us tell.
The beer of choice tonight is a Berliner Kindle. It's a Berlin beer, and it's 5.1%. I like it. I think it's all right actually. The Swann's beer review corner. You know, it's strong as fuck. It gives you quite a bad hangover if you have a few, but it is very lovely and it's cheap. So I got like 6 beers for I think €3.50. So, yeah. Which is why I've decided to host the 2 Tankies in Germany today rather than Ireland, because I can't afford for the 2 Tankies to be hosted in Dublin anymore. So we shifted over here, where you know the beer flows and it's stronger and it's probably good for you actually as well. You know, I think it's healthy.
Yeah, our Lennon had a few words to say about that. The masses being bought off by the loot and plunder of imperialism from abroad, providing nice, cheap and cheerful pints to the masses at home. Unfortunately, in the
back in the good old days when the war was up, the beer was much cheaper. So you know, like I'm just saying, you know, we could go back.
Even better. All principled Maoist criticisms aside.
Yeah, we'll just discard that. We'll go back to just beer was like 10 cents. On the
shelf. Fucking 10-cent points.
Let's go.
I'll take it. Community, let's do a quick shout out to the comments in the chat, and then we'll jump into we'll do a little recap on where you've been and what you've been doing for like last year, and we'll catch up with regard to Berlin and your channel and all that sort of stuff, and we'll have the crack. And of course, we'll be answering questions from the audience throughout the entire stream, so get your questions in. Just type at Paul Connolly. We'll take them down. I'll write them in a little shared conversation that we're having, and we'll take them one by one, and we'll get into them and just have the crack. Today, that's all we're doing. We're just here for chill vibes, points, having fun, talking shit, and celebrating Maggie's death.
Maggie. Hey. Dead.
Oh, I love it.
No. Maggie's in the mud. Maggie's in the mud. This is how I'm an Irishman and a Northerner at it, you know, celebrating the beautiful day.
I wish I had that video of the old Scottish woman. Do you know the old Scottish woman? Do you know that the interview? And she's
yeah. Strata steak for a heart.
Oh, love it. You love it.
Gorgeous.
You love it.
Or the Margaret Thatcher is dead video. You know.
Oh yeah. I know the one. Yeah. I think that was linked. I think that was linked over on Twitter. Yeah. Let's get the 07s in the chat. I'll do a quick shout out to all the 07s that I see so far. Let me do a little shout out. Let me just scroll back up here. Jack Harkins, how are you getting on? The Gateists, I love that name. It's fantastic. David's here. I see Socialist Swann is in the chat there, and I see Socialist Swann sounds like a very attractive woman.
I think he's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, sorry, she's gorgeous. You know, like lovely gal.
Yeah, I'm sure she has a fantastic voice. Verby 10, Die Todsruhen, Head Coombs, Constantine Blaise, Marxism, Arism. Who else we got? Comrade May, Rate is Langan. How are you getting on? Nicole A. Patton. I like those Irish flags, by the way. I like them a lot. Constantine, I see you again there. 1888 Sean, who's giving a shout out to the MI5 agents on the stream this evening. Hi Gary, how's the kids? Hope it's paying well.
I'm representing MI5. Come on, boys.
Jesus, yeah.
I love James Bond and Queen.
Literally, could you fucking imagine if your job, right? You join MI5 or the CIA or one of these special forces.
You're saying imagine? This is my reality, mate.
And you just have to sit around watching fucking communists on YouTube all day.
Imagine being the one who's assigned to the Socialist Swann YouTube channel. You'd have a very easy job, like it would not be a hard day's graft.
Mate, you literally you think you're going to be fucking, I don't know, James Bond or something like that. You think you're going to be doing some fucking special ops shit. You're just sitting around watching Socialist Swann videos all day. Oh man,
or watching, I'm so sorry, lads. Whoever's in that little booth.
Sorry, mate. That's all I can say.
The Marxist Paul, the agent might have a better deal. There's a little bit more to do. So, I mean, not in the last 3 weeks, but
yeah, the last 2 weeks were pretty quiet. Yeah. Who else we got there? Who else? Let me see if we got some 07s. Constantine Blaze asks, why 07? Why not E6 or something else? Now there's a good one. 07, it's like the O is the little head. Yeah, the 7's the arm. It's a little salute. It's a little red salute. That's our international proletarian salute to one another. And
I thought it was because we were playing Battleship in 07 as well, like Buckingham Palaces. So like, have I been doing it wrong all this time?
We should probably change our tactics if it's not working. We'll try P8 and see if that works.
That's Westminster.
Jesus, that's funny. Caramel, how are you getting on? Misk, Jesus Marks, Arthur Morgan. Who else we got there? I see Nicole again. For YouTube, who else we got? JD, Scottish Proletarian. Who else? Jason. A few more people. Common Formist. Omega CJS. Gengaros, Vixen. And so far so good. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're in for the crack tonight. We're just playing it by ear. We're winging it. We're having fun. It's been a long week. Been a lot going on. Our comrade here has been hard at work, working his arse off over in Berlin with essays and assignments and all kinds of things. Tonight we're just going to take it easy, have a couple of drinks.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in hearing and you telling me about it and diving into that. That'll be an interesting one. There's a question.
I can tell you one or two things,
Please do. Yeah. Common Formist asked, Paul, did Swann forget his password? Social Swann, would you like to tell everybody your passwords and just maybe send some pictures?
Yeah, go on. It's I love Hanukkah 49, and that's the one.
Sound all right. We'll take it over.
Yeah, maybe you can post some videos from it. That'll be appreciated.
We'll finally get around to that. Come here to me. Yeah, go on. Let's dive into it. Let's get into the conversation. The last year or so, a little bit more than a year maybe at this stage, you've been on something of an adventure. You've been off on your travels. You had your channel. You're taking maybe a little hiatus at the moment or something like that. So what's the crack with you? What have you been doing? What have you been up to? I know you've been in Berlin. Tell us how that's been. Give us the scale. Give us a rundown.
Yeah. So obviously, my last video were back in, I think it might have been July or June. I mean, they're both the same month. It's summer, so everything just kind of blends into one ball of
just
mess,
one day,
pints and sun.
Yeah.
It's the one about football and the GDR, which was quite a fun video to make. Actually, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then basically just like the rest of summer, it was like all the faff of like getting a visa to like come study abroad and everything. Because Brexit, you can't permanently live anywhere anymore in the EU. So there's a lot of bureaucratic hoops to jump through and everything. But I'm here now. I've been here for a bit now, and I'm going to be here for a bit as well. Just vibing, like rebuilding the wall, like bit by bit. It's a lot of hard graft because people tend to like start dismantling it during the night. So it's a lot of it's a hard graft. I'm not actually doing any essays or anything like that. It's just assembling the Lego bricks on where it used to be. But yeah, like I've just been basically having fun, like it's just been a good laugh. Obviously, like seeing all like the LARPy things, all the tourist sites, wishing that they put that Lenin statue back where they knocked it down and all that kind of thing. Enjoying the beer, enjoying the nights out, lots of really good nights out in Berlin. And all that kind of thing. So yeah, and also obviously because I've had to move over, I can't bring everything with me, so I couldn't bring any of my books, so I can't do any research or videos. I obviously don't have a microphone as well. I'm making do with this cheap ass Amazon Basics thing right now. So I hope that it captures the tones at least all right. We make do amend. We get that blitz spirit if you want to go full British patriot. But yeah, so obviously I couldn't bring the big fancy.
I'm sorry, we don't want to go British patriot.
No, we don't. No. That's the discourse.
I'll take Yorkshire nationalism.
Hey, I saw a video about that actually. So yeah, like Sorry.
No, sorry. You're going. I'm only going off shite talking.
Yeah, I'll stick to being a Yorkshire nationalist for now. And fighting for our liberation. I think that'll have to do for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of just wanted to take a seat back. I was kind of getting a bit burnt out just making videos about East Germany all the time because obviously it's one of my big passions in history. But also when your channel is just known for that. I wanted to do other things, but then life got in the way, actual organising, like doing things back at home and that, and like
touching grass,
all that kind of thing. Yeah, like actual real work and shit rather than just being online. So yeah, the plan is obviously to come back to it when I'm home and I'm settled again. Yeah. Go back into the full. So I've got a lot of ideas, loads of ideas. I'm not out of plans or anything like that. But yeah, it's just enjoying a nice little holiday.
Give us a few.
Yeah, I'm having a good one. A few ideas.
Yeah, give us a few.
Well, here's a little
here. Everybody, share the link to this. We're getting the good stuff. We're getting the juicy stuff here. Everybody.
Oh no! You can't spread it to the masses.
This is stream right now. Get out there. Get onto Twitter. Get onto Facebook.
Send it to your nan.
Get your mom, get your dad, get onto WhatsApp. Fucking send it on WhatsApp groups. Get out here. Go on. We're getting the good stuff. We're getting Socialist.
Send it to your dog. Let's go.
Send it to your doctor. Whoever. I don't fucking care. Send it. Get it around.
Send it to your landlord. It'll be a good laugh. And your boss. They'll love you for it.
They'll really appreciate it.
But you can't send it to Thatcher because she's not with us anymore. So.
Oh, I'm gonna drink to that. Cheers.
She's gone.
All right.
So the plans anyway, like now that everyone's gathered around, the plan is just basically like do a kind of series about gather around in the snug. Go on.
Snug.
No, come on, right. We got the comfy snug. We've got the little table. We've got pints covered every single centimeter of it. Some of them might be like non-alcoholic as well because I'm aware that we've got to be inclusive nowadays.
Of course,
but
absolutely.
But the table is just absolutely packed. And of course, actually, I'll drink a bit of Coke to you. There you go. Cheers to you guys there.
Cheers, mate.
But no, anyway, the tables are absolutely packed, and the barman's he's absolutely ran off his feet because of how many there are, But anyway, we're all gathered around. I have to whisper a little bit. I don't want the feds in the other room hearing the plans. But yeah, the big main idea is to do a series about the history of the British communist movement. It'll obviously be a long-term thing, because there's a lot of history, like believe it or not. So yeah, I think that'd be really interesting, really fun as well. Like trying to, because it's also something I don't think really talked about a lot as well, about the history of British communism. There's a few old books about it that are like from the 60s, and a few things that have been published quite recently in terms of the centenary. But you don't see the videos about it, so I think that'd be a unique thing to go there and like a nice resource for people. So that's going to be the main overarching project. Obviously, I want to expand more on the island stuff as well, obviously, because again, that's my degree, so like I know one or two things about it. And I also had this idea as well, like a really clickbaity thing, like the Trabant, the worst car ever, communism can't make cars and shit, and like draw people into it that way, and then like talk about how like socialism actually didn't need cars, and like how like the public transport was like really good, and like everything was designed within walking distance and that kind of thing, and be like, bringing people that way. I think that'd be quite fun.
That'd be lovely.
So if you think of East Germany, you think of the shit cars and the wall and that kind of thing, and just working bit by bit at the clickbait to bring the masses back, and then they can watch the bigger, better series about British communism. So yeah, that's the main. Yeah, that's the main plans. Anyway, I will return one day. Just give me a chance, I'm just on my hollybobs right now and I'm having fun.
Listen, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a little chance. Hopefully I'm not. Hopefully I haven't fallen off the radar by the time you're picking up coach again. Jesus Christ, it is tiring. It is tiring. You definitely need to be out there doing real world activism and actually touching grass and focusing on actually pushing to bring about socialism. And,
still don't know what this grass is that you're on about. But, I'm trying to learn every day.
Get one of those Oculus Rifts, those Oculus Rifts, and then the green stuff.
Yeah, don't they have that in the metaverse? Oh, the green things. I thought that was like I don't even know.
The stuff that people think is really.
I've never seen green before. I just see grey and concrete.
Like in a video game when you see grass and you're just like, oh my god, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. It's like it's just
like in Skyrim. Yeah.
And but then like in real life, it's just like
or in GTA, How come it makes my shoes dirty? Why?
She looking out the window and just be like, "Oh, look at that deadly graphics, fucking class." So good.
Whoa, new graphics update just dropped. New season update, it's summer now.
Oh, that's so funny.
I mean, before last year, it just used to be like, 64-bit graphics IRL. That was quite a fun time. Imagine what it must have been like before TVs were invented. Must have been awful.
Imagine before they invented color in the 60s.
Like to sing like dogs.
We existed in black and white prior to that.
And before, obviously, we had cameras. Everyone was just a portrait, so And then way back in the days, we're all just cave paintings. We're just like little smooches of paint.
Oh, just the cave walls, just the little fucking doodles in the cave walls, random spirals. Yeah. Anyway, I feel I don't know. This whole evening is about going off topic.
We've veered from the cars.
I feel like let's get back on track. Let's get back into it. That's class.
We love the track.
We love it. I'm looking forward to seeing the new videos and learn about the history of the British Communist movement, and especially with your focus on Ireland and the solidarity between the two that's happened. And obviously there've been rifts and there've been issues and stuff like that, and that have occurred at different moments.
Obviously, yeah.
But it'd be very interesting to hear the different perspectives.
It's been a rocky road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, think of the 80s as well. When obviously the original CPGB, which Communist Party of Great Britain, was dissolved, and it was succumbed to Euro communism and that kind of thing. It's a dark time, but there's obviously a lot of good times as well. There's a lot of really good times. So hopefully, we can focus on the positives before we get into just the sheer depression, because that's not fun.
Oof. We don't want to get into that. But you know what I just think is so sad.
No.
I think but I do think it's so funny, because we were talking about like Margaret Thatcher and all sorts of stuff. It's 9 years since she's passed away or whatever. Rest in peace, you won't be missed, obviously. But
best 9 years of my life.
Everything's looking up.
I've just opened another beer as well, so cheers. She's in the mud.
Cheers, mate. But I was just thinking, like, in the 1960s and 1970s, there's like a general sense, if you're just listening to people talking, like at least people who are sort of on the left, or whether they're social democrats or they're socialists or whatever, there's just this sense that socialism's around the corner. Like it's inevitable. It's going to happen. But then, of course, 1979 onwards, through the 1980s, neoliberalism comes in and just completely crushes it, destroys it. Yeah. Absolutely heartbreaking for the labour movement of the world.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, Britain, had the Communist Party was at the time, it stood MPs as well as doing on the ground work in trade unions and in workplaces. They had like several communist members of parliament who were constantly, attacking the government and being a bit of a pain in the ass for them. Obviously, loads of people in the communities, and then just from this, really vibrant communist movement into what we have today, and we've got. I see the next question about we've got the likes of the CPG, BML, and that kind of thing. So it's been a tough 30 years, and obviously one of the most poignant points as well. Obviously, whilst we're celebrating the death of the witch today, it's the fact that her system's lived on. We haven't killed her; she's won. Like she's her order's still in power. She's devastated both of our communities and many others' communities as well. I mean, all we really need to complete this holy trinity is to have like an Argentinian on the stream, and then we've got the axis of hate of Margaret Thatcher there, But yeah, obviously, her sister's still alive, and it's obviously we can have fun today and we can have a pint and that kind of thing. But it is about organising and carrying on the fight and making sure that not only her, but her ideas and her system and her mates and her followers are also in the mud, So keep the fight going, She's not dead yet. Sadly.
Unfortunately, her legacy has outlived her many decades, and probably will continue for many decades in the future until we finally rise up and take it down.
It's like when you had Tony Blair that came after. I think it was like Margaret Thatcher actually said that, my biggest legacy is Blair, because he was obviously a massive twat as well.
Yeah.
So he obviously Labour as well, a so-called Socialist party in massive quotation marks, he's obviously succumbed to it as well. So, it's just keep the fight going, because she's not gone yet. But we will make sure she's gone in the near future for good.
Well,
And then the parties will be insane. If you thought like 2013 was good, a good bit of crack, then when we finally overthrow it all, that's going to be times 10.
Oh, can you imagine the Socialist Party? Socialist Party, let's do it. Oh, like
we have 4 days of non-stop sesh, and then we get into like the hard work, because there's going to be a lot of work.
Oh shit!
But 4 days of fun,
4 days of fun, and then the 5-year plans will begin. Get cracking on
that. The 5-year plans for more fun.
5-year plans, 5 years of points. Let's go.
And then communism is when we have the most fun. That's when we win.
This is why we're communists after all, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I'm not in it to like be fucking sad and like upset and fight for nothing. I'm in it for a good time.
Sure, and we are. Jesus, yeah, isn't it? The left can be so bleak because we just spend all our fucking time like getting just fucking pissed off at how shite the world is.
The doom scrolling, I'm just like fucking. Oh my god, the news is life ain't good right now, and obviously with the cost of living and the war and everything just kind of going to fuck. You need to keep that bit of hope, obviously. So stay positive, There's a world to win. I think it's the best thing to say.
Fucking yeah. Who said that? Some smart fellow, I would imagine.
Yeah, just some old guy who was a crank in the pub. No one talked to him. Yeah, somewhere actually. Karl Marx actually used to go on holiday to Yorkshire, to like the spa towns around there and stuff. Oh, yeah? And there's a story where Engels sent him a tenner to like get some cold treatment, like get in the hot showers and everything in the waters. And it only came to a $5, so Karl Marx just like cut the tenner in half and sent half the tenner back to him and saying, "Oh, I didn't need the rest of it." Cut it in half. Crazy guy. But then, like round the corner from this like memorial, like this is sort of like bit of information about him. They've also got the Queen and Churchill, so it's like again the Holy Trinity of base kings. Like it's just a cursed place.
Oh my god. That's so funny. You just imagine Karl Marx roaming the plains of Yorkshire, just chopping up tenners. So Engels, please send a few.
That's how we beat them at their own game. You just cut all the money in half, and then what they're gonna do? What do they do? You're done for.
They can't beat that. Destroyed. Virgin capitalists destroyed.
Virgin capitalists owned by a man who doesn't shave.
Yeah, that sounds better. It sounds like people are in the right place for a bearded bastard like me here as well. All right. Anyway, okay. Great.
That's a beautiful beard on that little avatar, by the way. Gorgeous.
A lovely green beard there. Yeah, it's nice. Nice bit of yellow. That's actually that's actually a little bit of food I'd been eating earlier on. That's eggs.
You got a cornflake in there for later,
scrambled eggs and a few bits of porridge oats.
I need to grow mine long enough so I can just hide like a can in it just for a giggle. At all moments I'm ready.
Oh yeah, you need it down to your belly button.
Like some people have a hip flask. I have a can in my fucking beard. Right, what are you gonna do?
That's the way forward. That's the way forward for communism. That's how we're gonna get there. Really? Let's take a look at the questions.
Can beards for everyone.
Huh?
Can beards for everyone.
One for everyone in the audience, as they say. Yeah, let's take a look at the questions the comrades in the chat have asked. Let's see at the start. We had Comrade May who asked thoughts on CPGB-ML. I know you're an MLM, so revisionism or whatever. Excuse me, but I heard they were homophobic. I'm not sure about homophobia. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Socialist Swann. I'm not going to use your first name. I almost slipped into using your first name there. I don't. I'm just going to call you.
I don't want first name terms, but come on, keep it professional in a work setting, please.
I'm trying to avoid doxing. But Swann, L Swanny boy. What do you think? I'm going to let you jump in first because you. I think that you maybe are a little bit more on the ground. I might have a better analysis.
Well, not really. I'm on a different continent, but the thoughts there.
Oh my god, yeah. All right, well,
obviously, I do know about the CPGB-ML anyway, so I can definitely answer the question.
Please, yeah.
One of the first things I would say is a minuscule group. They're basically non-existent. They do have, I would say a decent base, but that's like a few people, 20 people or so. Like a base in London, and I think maybe one in like Birmingham or Manchester. These places, so that the big urban centres, of England. But even then, they're still minuscule. They're absolutely tiny. They're an irrelevant group. But like, you know, absolutely fuck them, to be honest with you. Like, they are a reactionary party. I do believe in working with communists on, like, you know, on most things. You know, I'm usually not very sectarian on that kind of thing. But when you are being obviously openly transphobic, but also implicitly homophobic as well, that's when you kind of have to draw the line. You know, like, I get line struggles if there's like a few like misconceptions amongst people within the party. But when the party policy is an active transphobic line and they relish in that, and they like publicly post, oh yeah, where all the libs are triggered because we did some base materialism by saying that trans people shouldn't exist, you know, like this kind of thing. That's where you kind of do have to draw the line. So yeah, basically the CPGML has massive institutional problems, and I would not recommend associating with them in any way. The most annoying thing is obviously, like, because they're quite loud on social media, it really does discredit the British communist movement, and it makes all the rest of us look bad. You know, you have that kind of idea of, you know, like Turf Island, you know, which is, and I know a lot of it is a meme, you know, but like also when you do have people who do start like discrediting British voices for like legit, you know, it's very problematic, and the CPGBNL does not help that in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, fuck them. To be honest with you, you know, being up straight about it. Yeah, just have nothing to do with them, because they posted books and stuff about like quite recently about, you know, gay people being anti-materialist and a distraction from the class struggle and this kind of thing. And Badmouse did a really, really good video about it, which I think might still be up actually. I would just direct everyone to that if you can find it, because that just dismantles them entirely, you know.
I don't know if I've seen that video, but that if you go on, it'd probably be hard to find, because I think that I seen Badmouse had a video on his channel, which has a link to all of his unlisted videos. So if people are looking for that, just type in Badmouse, go onto his channel, click on that video, and then that should bring
I think he might have re-uploaded that one, because a few of them he didn't, and the East and West Germany one he didn't, but I think he did re-upload the CPGBML one.
Okay, very good.
So that'll be in that playlist, you know. So just find that on there, and, you know, just watch and learn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I would defer to you for having a lot more experience and understanding of the British struggle and what's going on there, and I defer to your knowledge in that regard. But I would also say that it is very clear that they have taken this metaphysical, mechanical materialist, just totally reactionary position against trans comrades for fucking no reason. But again, that's just total mechanical materialism. It is not an application of dialectical materialism. They totally deviate from the dialectical materialist method, the philosophy of dialectical materialism, which underpins the science of historical materialism. They've just completely thrown that out the window in their crude, vulgar materialists.
It's a bastardization, like, in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah. Which I think is just totally, it's just totally uncommunist. It's completely breaking with Marxism. It has nothing to do with Marxism, you know. So they shouldn't be fucking calling it that, you know. It's just vulgar materialism. It's you know, you hear them saying, trans people say, I don't know how it was phrased. It was the I am therefore I think, and I think therefore I am. It was that Descartesian thing flipped backwards or whatever, using that as like a justification for it. And they were saying that it's total idealism, like people are just thinking this, and so, but it's like, no, there's a material basis for these things, and things like gender are socially constructed through many different complex and overlapping factors. It's nowhere near as simple as someone just.
I know it's a cliche. Just read Engels. Like, he talks about this shit. Exactly. So, like, you know, if you want to be a proper Marxist, then you would read these kind of things. What is it? Private property and foundation of the family. Yeah, is that the one?
On the origins.
Because I'm sorry, I've been really out of the theory circles. Like I say, I'm on holiday, so, you know, like, but I remember one or two things, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right,
But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're dead right. Just sit down and read Engels, and he'll absolutely explain it to you. I mean, you read any Marxist text, you know, Marxism, Mary Tegsby, the women's movement, and it explains that, you know, women for us is not just some biological phenomenon. It is a complex social whole. It is something just like woman like man is a social construct. They're saying this in fucking 1971, you know, and of course our understanding of things like gender and sex and all these sorts of things have vastly enhanced and refined over recent decades, over the past half century since that was written. So why the fuck? Why are they not keeping with times? You know, why are they not actually updating their analysis accordingly? You know, they're stuck in some fucking 1930s mechanical materialist analysis, which has nothing to do with dialectics. Because dialectics, one of the key core concepts of dialectics is that things are constantly changing, and constantly in motion, and constantly developing and growing and changing. And there are quantitative changes which cause these qualitative transformations all the time through struggle. And when you abandon that and you say, well, Stalin said this, so this is true forever, eternally, always. It's like, no, that's not true. Even based Stalin has made errors. You know, there were mechanical errors in his line of thought, you know, which need to be critiqued. Like everyone, it's like this shit. It's like literally Marxism. It's the criticism of all that exists except for based daddy whoever the fuck you might want to quote. But no, it's not. That's not. Marxism is not whatever Marx said. Marxism is historical materialism. You know, this is the method of scientific socialism. You know, that's what it is. You know, it's the methods. And if you're not applying that method, then you're not actually applying Marxism, and that's the problem. You know, so these people are just, I suppose, what it is really is dogmatism, and I know that term dogmatism is really overly used. It's used just against anyone who is a bit too strict or whatever. But I mean, when I say dogmatism, it's just like they're rehashing things that they read in a book, and they're just rehashing it without critically engaging with it and using the historical materialist method. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's sort of what I thought. I'm not sure if that was clear or coherent at all as I dig into my points.
No, that was absolutely beautifully well put. Thank you for that. I would also just add on as well that like when they talk about trans people, it's always in a really opportunist, like right wing way. Because right now in Britain, from what I can tell, there's been a really massive new offensive on trans people. So recently there was a guy in Parliament, a Conservative MP, who actually came out as the first ever trans MP, and Boris Johnson did some words of support. But whilst that's happening, you know, he's making statements in Parliament. His government are also trying to continue to legalise conversion therapy against trans people. And I think because recently they made it illegal for conversion therapy against gay people, which is obviously an achievement. But you know, how long has it taken to get that done?
Christ,
you know, like, it's only taken a few years.
2022,
but it's still legal for trans people, you know, to have conversion therapy done on them and that kind of thing. And then also you have the whole thing about the swimmer, the trans woman swimmer, and that she won the race. And then you just have this like whole load of backlash on the British media. The British media started interviewing every single person. Can a woman have a penis and all this kind of thing, and like being really viciously transphobic. They're going to look back, I think, in 5, you know, probably not even that, just a few years, and think, yeah, absolutely being on the wrong side of history there. But the CPG-BML always come out with their transphobic stuff whenever the British government launches a new offensive on trans people. So they're absolutely in step with the far reaction of the British government, you know, because, you know, even the Tory leadership right now is like the right wing of the Tory party, which is weird to think about, but it does have a really far right wing, you know. So yeah, you know, they're absolutely in step with the British government here, and I don't know how any communist can justify that in any way, shape, or form. So for that, they should be condemned. And also the whole theoretical thing, which you covered really well, is just another nail in the coffin of why we should just never, well, probably even mention. They're just not worth thinking about.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these things are often amplified as a result of social media, and also like I suppose the outrage that these things kind of generate, and rightly so. I mean, people should be
the ratio culture, you know.
Ratio culture, yeah. So they're probably getting a bit too much attention. It's in some cases it's often better to actually take the isolation approach of ignoring and isolating and just saying, look, we're not going to bother even addressing it. This silly nonsense, just fuck it, forget about it. Obviously, there's a point where
the comrade CPG-BML has sent in a silly letter. We shall neither retweet nor like, nor quote retweet.
Oh my God, Kelski will never outlive that.
I think that was Trotsky, actually. That was Trotsky.
Oh, was it Trotsky? Oh, shite.
It was Lenin to Trotsky.
Oh yeah, Trotsky's written a silly letter. Yeah, you're right.
Which is very funny.
Actually, I just want to in the chat there. I just want to put a little recommendation for people to have a read with regard to this question. I put a little link to a book called Toward a Scientific Analysis of the Gay Question by the Los Angeles Research Group on Foreign Language Press. You can read it for free. You can download the PDF of it, or you can support Foreign Language Press and actually buy a copy of it, which I would recommend because they do really, really good work. But if you're not in a position to do so,
great bunch of lads.
They're absolutely fantastic, but just do have a read of that. It's a really important text. It was written in 1975, so it's obviously quite outdated, but that gave a really scathing critique of homophobia and queerphobia in general within the RCP in the United States, the Revolutionary Communist Party. The Avakian, the Avakian cult, as they say.
That the cult of personality one.
Exactly. Like. Yeah. The whole new synthesis bollocks. Yeah. It's the best thing that came out of that movement were the criticisms of that movement. Do you know what I mean? And I think that you really should engage with those criticisms. And this is a really, really good text to do that. So have a little read there. I put it into the chat. What I might do is I might just pin that in the chat, and hopefully people will be able to see it. Let me just pin that message, and it should come up at the top.
Yeah, boss.
Okay.
But it's also even actual existing social states have solved this as well. I mean, self plug. But refer to my video about gender, sex, and sexuality in the GDR, because they solved this question back in superficially in the 60s, but fully by the early 80s, and then by the end of East Germany, they had state support for gender reassignment surgery, which is still not allowed in modern Germany. So even former socialist states have dealt with this properly. There's no historical basis at all for communists to be transphobic, let alone homophobic.
Yeah. They were just so much further along than basically anywhere else is in the world today. It's absolutely mental. Especially like women's rights as well. Like in the GDR, like there's just women's rights as well. We're just most places, even in the supposedly socially advanced Western world, can't compete with the kind of freedoms that women had in that particular state.
From day one, from 1945, through to the end, it was enshrined in the law, equality, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to simp too much.
Well, we'll see. We'll get a few more points into us, and then we'll see. Maybe the simping will come out again.
It'll all be coming out then.
I'll be coming out then.
I just become a little bit insufferable.
Never, not possible. Community, let's push on to the next question. I think we've talked enough about CPGBML for one stream.
Yeah. I think we've talked enough about them for a lifetime.
I think that's it. We can pull the plug on that. Yeah, the Gaytheist, by the way, based
boss name. Very relevant.
Yeah, very, very relevant. We absolutely support. We stand. What are your thoughts on creating a careless?
Look at you with the youth culture.
I do. I was gonna say I do young things, but that sounds really fucked up.
No.
Jesus Christ, that sounds so.
No, don't clip that.
Don't clip Climpy Jimpy, whatever. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. All right, so let's try this again. The Gaytheist asks, Paul, what are your thoughts on creating a not careless, but careless society, or at least car-free areas? Our Changing Climate made a video about that. I like Our Changing Climate. They seem to make pretty good stuff, but I haven't seen that particular video, so I must check that out before giving some sort of proper analysis. I mean, obviously it would work very, very well in smaller countries. It could work very, very well here in Ireland. Certainly that plus trains and trams and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, there's no reason why not. It might be more difficult in places that are much larger territories, like say, I don't know, like Brazil or the United States or Russia or something like that. It might be tough. But even then, I mean, like, why wouldn't you be just looking into, trains and bikes? Do you know what I mean? Poor out Cuba got a terrible old time with the blockade, with the genocidal blockades that they put on it. And they took to the bikes, many of the people, there are some cars, of course, but many people just took to the bikes, and they've got one of the most green, sustainable environments in the world to this day as a result of it. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot to be said for it, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Swann?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of something I do want to cover in that future video, looking at historical example anyway. But the Ireland example, like before the Free State, even under British rule, like the train network was fairly decent, and then obviously when it came to so-called decolonisation, that kind of thing, like a lot of the railways in Ireland are knackered, and now you can't even get to the northwest anymore by train. Like I think of Donegal,
Yeah,
you can't get there at all, can you, by train? And obviously, bus airing is shitty as well, isn't it? So the benefits of semi-colonialism and all that kind of thing. But also, again, I guess another historical example with Cuba. Sorry, not like Cuba, is Maoist China as well. I was watching a documentary by a guy called Guy Martin. He's a really funny guy. Don't watch him for politics. He's just a funny, good Lincoln lad. And he actually went to China and he found like a lot of, because Mao, as part of when he was first coming to power, just created a fuck ton of bicycles and motorbikes and things. And that's how people got around, obviously, in the chaos of the early years of recovering from the war and everything. Because obviously, I don't want to get too much into modern China, but obviously, I think one thing they do show is the fact that you can build a lot of high-speed rail and get around a huge country. Unlike, say, America, where they have next to no infrastructure like that. One of the richest countries in the world just doesn't do trains. And then you have people like Elon Musk getting into stupid shit like, what is it, the Hyper Tunnel or something? Like, what's it called?
I don't know.
Like, the Elon Musk thing where it's like, oh, let's just drive cars underground. But it's like, we've already invented that. We invented the metros and undergrounds and U-Bahns and these kind of things. Like, stupid. But yeah, I think that aspiring to a carded society is, again, like you say, much more achievable in small countries. But it can be a goal for big countries as well, I think. One thing about socialist city planning is that it was designed so that everything was within walking distance. And, like your shops, your schools, your hospitals, everything you could ever need, walking distance. And if you couldn't walk to it, you would have a tram or a bus, or in some extreme cases, a train that will take you there. That's how like a lot of the old cities in the USSR and some places in Germany, like Berlin. There's a place in Berlin called Marzahn, which is like a model socialist town where everything's walking distance. So I think it can be easily achieved, and it is probably one of the main ways out of the climate crisis. But that requires massive societal change. Obviously, you can't do that under capitalism because the car companies are too big. And there's no will to invest into public transport or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's definitely aspirational, a very noble one, and one that I'd like to see explored more in the modern day as well. But yeah.
Yeah, but have you ever been to Amsterdam?
Sadly not, no. I do keep meaning to, but I haven't.
These motherfuckers on their bikes going everywhere. They're just zipping past you all day, every fucking day. There's little trams and bikes everywhere.
Oh god, they're crazy. They love it here as well.
These motherfuckers just zipping past you, just smashing into you and shit like that, and then they look at you like you're an arsehole for fucking walking out. What the fucking, get out of here, fucking cyclists everywhere, you pricks. Get out of here. Fucking.
Absolutely merciless. They'll probably ram you into the flipping canal, won't they, in Amsterdam, and they won't even stop. Yeah. They'll probably just put the finger up at you, and that's it, and they'll cycle away. Okay, maybe you know what, I take my argument back, and maybe we should just destroy all bikes and return to car.
Yeah. Reject modernity. Embrace tradition.
Embrace tradition. Embrace the internal combustion engine.
I think we answered the question pretty sufficiently there.
Yeah. Yeah, ignore the last few minutes of waffle. Now we hate bikes. Simple as.
And also ignore the introduction to the question and the young people thing. Just please ignore. Actually, just ignore that.
No, yeah, definitely do ignore that. That's not right. Especially, I actually watched something about have you seen the Netflix documentary about Jimmy Savile?
As a streamer, particularly, yeah. Somebody who's doing streams now, you need to fucking. You need to nip that one on the bud. You need to really clamp down on that.
I suppose you're fitting into the class of streamer very well. You've fitted really nicely. Well done. You're in good company.
Jesus Christ. All right, death to nonsense. That's all I'll say. I support that.
Based.
All right, Arthur Morgan says, Paul, thoughts on Michael Parenti? Yeah, thoughts on Michael Parenti. Swann, do you have any thoughts on Michael Parenti?
Yeah, top lad. He's just a good bloke, isn't he? Got nothing bad to say about him.
Well, of course, yeah. At the moment as well, of course, he's going through a very tough time at the moment as well. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got.
And it's nice to see people go over to him as well and caring for him. I think that's quite heartwarming.
It is quite
in a world of really cursed shit on the internet. That brought a smile to me. That was lovely.
Yeah, no, it is. It's extremely wholesome. You have to appreciate that. But yeah, so what I would say, he's an amazing public speaker, a fantastic, very motivating, very impassioned public speaker. He'll really rile you up. Like if you're someone who's new to left wing thoughts. You're kind of maybe you're like social democratic liberal or whatever like that, and you hear this guy talking about feeding the children. That's the revolution that gets my support. All this
Learning
sort of
to
stuff.
read, that was that brought a tear,
his
that
dad,
genuinely brought a tear.
When he gave his dad's book, he gave his dad's book, and his dad said, "I can't read," and then he talked about people up in the mountains. Oh, it's amazing! It is beautiful. No, it is. He's a poet. He's a fantastic orator, absolutely brilliant, and very very motivational, and probably very very useful for people who are at that sort of new stage to the left. I think beyond that, I think there are criticisms from the left that you could levy, which for example, like if you're just saying that the revolution that feeds the kids is the revolution that gets my support. That's a very, very. If you're actually being a serious Marxist and a serious communist, if you're just saying the revolution that feeds the kids is the revolution that gets my support, you could find yourself supporting all kinds of things, anything, like literally any social democratic pseudo revolution or even fascist revolution where they include some forms of nationalization or so on and so forth. So we need to be more precise than that. It is emotive and it is useful, but it does open up the pathway to just all out revisionism, like just complete revisionism. So you do need to be careful of that. Now I do know that he does have criticisms of socialisms that have existed historically. He does actually have criticisms of the USSR and stuff like that. He actually does. Now a lot of his supporters don't really talk about his own anti-revisionist moments, but he actually did have like criticisms of the USSR and China and all that sort of stuff. So I think it is worth diving into that a little bit more. But at the same time, the ruthless criticism of all that exists, it is important to realize that the terminology that he's using there could be used to get you to support fascism. Realistically, literally any fascist regime, you could say, well, they fed the kids, so that's it, grand, I support them. Now, of course, people will say, well, that's not what he meant, obviously. And it's like, yeah, well, that's not what he meant, obviously. But we need to be clear about what we do support. When we talk about when a Marxist talks about revolution, we're not just talking about a coup or a seizure of power or something like that. When a Marxist talks about revolution, what revolution means to a Marxist is revolutionizing the economic base of society. It is supplanting the capitalist mode of production and putting in its place a socialist mode of production, transitioning to communism. Getting on the road that socialist transition to the full communist mode of production. That's what we're talking about as Marxists. We're not just talking about feeding the kids, which is important and very important, and it resonates with so many people. But we need to go beyond that. We want a workers' state. We want workers' power. We want working class control of the state, with the ultimate goal of the abolition of all class through abolishing the bourgeoisie as a class, and thus, as a result, consequently, in abolishing the bourgeoisie, ultimately abolishing the proletariat, ultimately abolishing the working class, and thereby creating stateless, classless, moneyless society. And so that's what we're actually aiming for. Do you know what I mean? It's not just feeding the kids or whatever like that. It's not just these things. Although these things are very important and very impressive, and you can look at these socialist or at least socialistic revolutions historically, and we can appreciate these progressive measures and progressive steps, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we should ever lose sight of what it is that we're actually trying to build here, which is genuine working class control of society, and ultimately a socialist world and then a communist world, which is actually what we're aiming for. Do you know what I mean? Now, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too hard left line there. I don't know what you think about that, Swann, but those are the first thoughts that come to my mind anyway.
Yeah, absolutely beautifully said. I mean, at the end of the day, that is our end goal, and I think it's also the end goal of Parenti as well. Obviously, you said it there, but I do firmly believe that when Parenti is talking about, I support the revolution that feeds the kids, it's just purely like a rhetorical thing. And obviously, you've got to be a motive when you're doing public speaking. I mean, obviously, we can when you get into like a proper chat with people, you can start talking about the things you mentioned there about obviously the end goal of the Marxist movement. And what we really want in terms of working class power and the abolishment of classes overall. But when you're just kind of doing like a public rally, then like talking about feeding kids, and especially at a time right now where real poverty, absolute poverty, is on the rise. I don't know too much about Ireland, but I imagine it'll be the same. Is massively on the rise. It's hugely on the rise. So, and kind of also, I guess, in an age as well where communism is still massively stigmatized as well. And I think even more so nowadays as well, since recent events. Communism, we're seeing almost like, in a way, a second McCarthyism. I think it's starting to genuinely move along that kind of trend. if we're not careful. So just kind of trying to destigmatize communism by say the absolute basics of what we want. We want working class children to be fed, and obviously we can talk about how we achieve that through the working class power. But just wing people inside and show that we're not Russian agents who are set on destroying Western civilization. Although that is based, that's not what we're all about. But yeah, and I'll always entirely be thankful to Parenti as well, because it was during the pandemic that I started shifting towards being a Marxist-Leninist. And it was by reading Black Shirts and Reds and watching a lot of Parenti that kind of snapped me out of that, Trotskyite way of thinking, and getting into the actual movement that plans to change the way our way of life and build working class power, and ultimately seize power for our class. And Michael Parenti is a really nice stepping stone on that way, because he kind of he introduces people to those ideas, or maybe Stalin wasn't a monster, or maybe the Soviet Union didn't do everything bad, obviously with very principled critiques as well. Course, it's kind of that thing of bending the stick. Lenin described it, like you've got to bend the stick one way to counteract one idea, and then when you kind of address the balance, you can bend the stick the other way to try and get things back to balance again. You swing so far one way, and then once you've addressed that contradiction, you can swing the other way to then address the new contradiction you create. All this kind of thing. It's a rhetorical device more than anything, and that's why I'll always respect Michael Parenti as a really, really good public speaker, as an orator, as someone who has done a lot of really good work for our cause. Maybe he's not the most prolific theorist for the reasons you outlined, but he has his place, and he's served it incredibly well, and I really hope he enjoys the rest of his life, because he's absolutely earned a nice rest, and God bless him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drink to that. Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
There's a comment on that.
Or whatever.
Sláinte in Ireland here, yeah. There's a comment on that particular point. Jess says, the revolution that feeds the kids. Which kids are we feeding? Certain kids at the expense of others. It's necessary to be clear and to have structural revolutionary change, not just a band-aid. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I suppose, the precision that I would like to see more of, which is, it's lovely. It's lovely to be sitting here, isn't it? To be fucking pontificating and to be telling people like, oh yeah, you should have done this, you should have done that, should have done that. Yeah, that's always great. How many times have I gotten on stream and made a dick of myself and said things that I regret and I shouldn't have said? I mean, come on.
I have a nice little checklist here. Do you want me to read them off?
Oh, don't go back to a year ago. About this time last year, I think there was a big list of amounted at that point.
It's a nice little Torah scroll full of them.
I'm not going to ever type my name into Twitter. No way. As a person,
you're all right.
and continuing on that comment, Jess says, as a person with a kid, absolutely agree. Emotional point that grabs attention, rightfully, but needs to be clarified. So yeah, I would just pair it up with saying workers' power is what we really want. We really want working class power. That's the key thing, that I think people really need to hammer home. Because even if you're not ready to drop the big C communism, just straight away, people can certainly relate to working class power, straight away, and then from there,
always a winner. Yeah,
exactly. And what does that entail? What does working class power entail? What does that actually mean? Okay, people might go to the unions. Some people might go to thinking worker co-ops. But we say, okay, but where does real power come from? Like, who actually decides? And then you'll get into the state. Then you get into the talking about how the state actually enforces class domination through the police, through the military, through the educational system, through ideological state apparatuses like religion and all of these sorts of things, and ideology in general, and you can expand it out from there, but ultimately hammering home working class power, and that's how we get to ultimately our final goal, which is of course stateless, classless, moneyless society, so yeah.
And a bloody good sesh.
I love it. You got me saying bloody. You got me saying bloody. Very nice. And not,
it's a lovely word,
Yeah. Fucking, we love swearing in Ireland. That was the only thing we're very.
I'm just trying to think about your monetization if you do have any. It might have already gone when you said you did like kids, but I'm just thinking.
Now, to clarify for anybody who just dropped into the stream, I did fucking not say that.
You didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm sorry.
I fucking didn't say that. You prick. This discrimination against streamers. This is what this is. I've been tired. I've gotten
the most oppressed class.
I've gotten Vosh jacketed right now. Some people get Fed jacketed, you know. I get Vosh jacketed.
You see, Vosh is to streamers what the CPGBML is to actual normal British communists. So you know, I can relate on that front.
The absolute epitome of the worst. The absolute. Anyway, okay, I don't need to go down.
Do you mind if I go get a beer?
I do mind. Yeah, you can't do that. No, you know.
You do mind?
I do mind. You can't do that. No.
Twat.
Okay, go on. Let me see. Yeah, give me.
I'll be quick. I swear down.
Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds here. I'll see. Let me see if I can get a question that Socialist Swann doesn't relate to Socialist Swann. There's a really good question that's actually related to what we were talking about. Jack Harkins asks to explain what permanent revolution is according to Trotz. I'm confused. I think we can talk about that. We can flesh that out and explain it. And of course, Swann was involved with Trotskyist organizing for quite some time, so I think it'll be very interesting to hear his perspective first and foremost. I myself fell into the Trotskyist trap when I first started organizing 5 or 6 years ago. I didn't really realize what I was getting myself into at that time. I just saw some socialists, some people who were talking about Marx, and I just thought, class, I'm on board. Let's do this. Let's study Marx. Let's go for it. And I didn't really know the differences, to be honest, at that time. But yeah, so I found myself involved with some Trotskyist organizations for a short period of time. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that when Swann gets back. Let me just see here. Rattle is slanking. Oh, you're back. I just want to quickly.
Yeah, don't piss about.
You're not fucking around here, Jesus Christ! Give me.
No! I'm committed to this sesh.
Let me quickly just fire through this question. I don't know if I have an answer to it, but let me just quickly. This is.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm mute again.
I appreciate the mute. That's very, very kind of you. Rate is Langen, Paul Connolly on Dutch. I recently seen your Dutch CJB interview stream. I'm part of the communist split from the Socialist Party, not CJB. What do when CJB doesn't accept your line with unification? What do when I don't understand the question. If you could please rephrase that question. I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking about Irish reunification? Are you talking about I'm not really sure exactly what the question is, but if you could please rephrase that, I would appreciate that. That's not to say I'm not a huge adherent. Of course, I'm a student of Marxism, Leninism, Maoism. CJB is not an organization that studies Marxism, Leninism, Maoism. They are not a socialist Republican organization, so you know we don't agree on like everything. That's fine, you know. But if you want to rephrase that, maybe we can dive into that a little bit more, and maybe there's something I'm missing in the conversation. But let me know anyway. We'll see. Okay, Swann, please. Let's dive into this question about Trotskyism.
I'm back.
Legends. You got your beer?
Oh, boo. No, well, yeah, I have a beer. I'm on my 3rd Berliner Kindle.
Representing.
So again, we'll have a cheers to the death of Margaret Thatcher.
Cheers.
So, cheers. Launcher and post.
Prost. Slancha. Cheers. Whatever.
Post, Freundschaft.
Saúde, if you're
all that kind of thing, you know. And what is cheers in Portuguese?
Saúde. It's like health. They just say health.
Saúde.
Saúde.
Yeah, I guess in Germany you have Gesundheit. So
yeah, it's just
I've been to Portugal actually. I love Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal's cool. That's it.
I've been to
interesting country.
The Algarve. So I think it was near Albufeira. Is that a place? Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, and it's lovely.
Well, I have to confess, I've never actually been in the country. What I do is I go onto Google Maps to do the little street view thing. I always go. I love doing the little street view thing in Portugal and just going around.
But it saves the monies on the Ryanair flights and the fact they tried to rip you off and that. So you know, I respect the grind. I respect that.
I fucking afford to go. Come on, even though it's fairly cheap. Like, what?
Are you trying to say I'm bourgeois?
You're a Labour aristocrat, Swann. Get out of here.
You see, I'm just a classical British local bloke man who goes over to these countries, again, only speaks English, wears his vest, you know, and he'll just speak and he'll say, 1 beer, please. That's me. I'm living up the reputation. It's fun.
Yeah.
Disrespects all the local customs and then retreat back to my beautiful Labour aristocrat home.
Yeah, you've I think English people in Spain and Portugal and the related islands, Canary Islands, have a bit of a reputation in terms of these holiday places. Young lads in particular, like
I was
football hooligans, as they call them.
Hooligans, yeah. I do enjoy the football, I won't lie. I'm actually off to a football game tomorrow. That should be really fun.
Yeah?
But yeah, we do have a bad reputation. I was actually on the train yesterday, actually. And because it was Friday, it's, when all the tourists come in, come to Berlin, on the hollybobs and everything like that. And you could tell who the British people were because they were all, number one, really loud, and number two, not wearing a mask. And it's just like, I don't know. I kind of hate hearing English people abroad. I mean, it's okay when I do it, but like when anyone else does it, that's wrong. At least I actually tried the language. I've actually learned pretty decent German whilst I come over here. Like I'm not going to say I'm fluent, but I can hold a really good conversation.
Really good conversation. Woof.
Yeah,
at least you got confidence.
I mean, I've been on a few of the markets and like been talking to the guys there, and like a lot of them who are from former East Germany and stuff. And they're all. I was talking to them in German. And they were saying, "Oh yeah, we actually learned English by reading the Morning Star, which is the paper of the British Communist Party." And I was like, "Oh my god, that is so fucking cool! Like, that is so boss."
That's funny.
Yeah, and obviously, I talk to all the people in Germany at the football games I go to and everything. I have some like really good crack. I get beers bought for me, which is really fun. So yeah, I'm like one of the good ones.
One of the good ones. Hashtag not all Brits.
Yeah.
Wait, no, we there was a good question that we were gonna answer. Let's do the question on Trotskyism because that was related. Let's get back on track. We were talking about the question, the atheist's question. Nothing inappropriate was said at all during that question, but during that question, you did bring up Trotskyism and how Michael Parenti. Oh, it was actually Arthur Morgan's question on Michael Parenti, and you were talking about how he kind of pulled you out of the quagmire of Trotskyism. Let's talk a little bit about this. There was a question, or rather a request to explain something, and that was to explain what exactly permanent revolution is according to Trots. This is Jack Harkins who asked about this. So permanent revolution, do you want to talk a little bit about this one? I'm not sure if you studied it that much, but as someone who was involved in
I mean, I'd like to, but the thing is, though, is that when you talk to Trotskyists, and I'd actually know a really good Trotskyist here in Berlin. He's a good lad. He's well principled. But when you talk to them, you kind of get the sense that like every single Trotskyist group has their own idea of what Trotskyist ideas are.
Yeah.
So like some of them are like almost like ML adjacent in a way,
Yeah.
Other ones are like, have principled critiques of actually existing socialism. They just go down a different path, argue, in my opinion, the wrong path, but it's a different path. And then you have the other ones that are just kind of like, towing the state line, like, for example, the Cliffite groups, it's like the SWP, the Socialist Workers' Party in England. It used to be the SWP in America, but I think they dissolved because of a sexual abuse scandal. So
every SWP
yeah, it's quite weird. You have the SWN in Ireland, don't you? And People for Profit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was the SWP up until a few years ago, and then it became Socialist Workers Network. Yeah, that's right. People for Profit would be the front organization of them. Yeah, it would have been a mass organization.
Yeah, so like basically every single front group has its own idea what these things are. From what I can tell, permanent revolution is basically I can't describe it. The idea that basically when we have a socialist revolution, it has to put most of its energy into spreading before it can build a socialist state. Whereas I guess the more ML position is obviously still focused on expansion. That's a very really big misconception of socialism in one country. But you have to focus on building, your own state. But the thing I don't get about it is that like it all comes from this one very specific historical debate. When you had the Soviet Union, which was the only country that was socialist. Obviously, the revolution across the world had failed. Ireland failed. Britain had failed. Germany, Hungary, France, Italy, bloody everywhere had failed. So it was on its own. You obviously have the question of tactics from there. Do we continue to antagonize everyone around us and threaten invasion by putting so much effort into spreading communism everywhere? Or do we, focus on building our own state and like shoring up our defense so we can spread it in the future? And the one that was more popular in the end was socialism in one country. But I don't really see how permanent revolution applies so much today. I think a lot of Trotskyism just kind of it's like a rehashing of historical debate, I think. But yeah, I'm sorry, I really didn't answer the question at all.
No,
it's
you
just
did.
because Trotskyism is just so full of contradictions. It's hard to give one answer. You kind of have to ask each one what they think of it, And that's part of the reason why I left. I wanted to move to actually well-defined ideology rather than whatever the cult leader says.
You made a really good point about how the goalposts are constantly moving with regard to this question of permanent revolution. Some people will say that it's this, some people will say that it's that, and it can be kind of hard to pin it down as a result. What I generally do is I would put that in contrast to Stalin's idea of socialism in one country, as you have rightfully mentioned and discussed. And the idea of socialism in one country requires, I suppose, a different understanding of what socialism is than what the quote orthodox Marxists would say. So from Lenin onwards, and certainly from Marxism Leninism onwards, we start generally thinking of socialism as being the dictatorship of the proletariat. You're transitioning towards communism. So it's a transitional stage alongside this, wherein it's a proletarian revolution, as in the working class is the leading class. The working class has state power and can carry the revolution forward to communism. Now some people will just say, the orthodox Marxists will just read Critique of the Goethe program and say, well, actually what this is called is dictatorship of the proletariat, and Marx used socialism and communism interchangeably. So really, you can't have socialism in one country because socialism is communism, and we can't have communism until everybody enters into communism, because communism is a global system which is stateless, classless, moneyless. And you can't have that existing alongside imperialism, because if you don't have a state, then just the imperialists will have states, and they'll just attack the other countries and move in and just reinstate capitalism, and it's not going to work. So you can't, either everybody enters into communism or nobody enters into communism, industrial communism, that is. We're not talking about going back to primitive communism or primitive communal society or anything like that. We're not saying go back to monkey or anything like that. And so in many ways,
that's the end goal.
Well, I mean, the mutually assured destruction of all classes, I suppose, would be that, the apocalyptic scenario. Yeah,
that's really nice and contemporary mutually assured destruction, isn't it? Flipping heck.
Oh hell yeah! Let's not even get into the current issues that are going on. But yeah, you're right.
That's a 3-hour conversation.
Oof, that's probably an 8-hour conversation. We'll be going on for hours. But yeah, so I think that
we can do that easy.
24-hour stream incoming. Let's go. No, but the thing is that you need to contrast socialism in one country with permanent revolution. So socialism in one country sort of posits that you can have a proletarian state, you can have a working class state. I don't care if you call it socialist or not, or if you just call it dictatorship of the proletariat. I don't give a fuck, whatever you want to call it. But that's a foothold then. And you can build that up and get more footholds, country by country, almost like the conception of PPW, where you liberate one territory, then you liberate the next territory, and you have all of these slowly more and more territories on the map are being liberated one by one, and you're surrounding the imperialist cores, and then eventually you can actually move in that way, and bit by bit you're taking over the map, and then you can fully have your global communism. And that's the socialism in one country idea. So bit by bit you'll take it one country at a time, and then you'll continue the socialist transition that way. Whereas with permanent revolution, there's some other ideas. Permanent revolution. Now I will say as well, with regard to the dictatorship of the proletariat, there's also among Trotskyists some division about whether or not the USSR actually was dictatorship of the proletariat. Some of them I think the SWP say that it was actually just state capitalist, and that's the end of it. They don't really.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas other Trotskyists will
say
that
it was a degenerate worker state. Yeah, that's the other one
that's
to
right.
say, isn't it?
Yeah, but but they will say that it's a worker state. It's like a lesser worker state. It's not like actually going in the right direction or something. Anyway, the goalposts can move to wherever they want in that conversation, so it's not even worth really.
Whatever the State Department tells you to think.
Pretty much whatever the fuck, whatever it is you want it to be, whatever it is the soy jack in your meme happens to be. That's that's it. Just
socialism is when sell newspaper.
Exactly.
But when not sell newspaper, no socialism. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so then you contrast this with permanent revolution, and it's this idea that you can kind of just do revolution straight away. It needs to be an international revolution everywhere in the world, like straight away. At least you need to work towards that. So if you do have, let's say, dictatorship proletariat comes in, you need to work to put all of your energies into exporting revolution all over the world, everywhere, as fast as you can. It's going to start in the imperialist cores. It's not going to happen in the backwards countries.
Incredibly racist thinking as well.
Yeah, like it's not going to happen in semi-colonies. It's not going to happen in the colonies. It's going to happen in Germany. It's going to happen in France. It's going to happen in Britain, and so on and so forth. This is one of the key ideas. It's not going to happen in alliance with the peasants. The peasants are not going to be involved with that. But of course, as we know, the peasants have been an incredibly revolutionary force historically, and even Marx towards the end
almost
of his life
everywhere.
came to. Oh, absolutely. I mean, sure. Look, what's the hammer and sickle represents? I mean, it's the industrial proletariat plus the peasantry. You know, the sickle, of course, being the peasantry, the rural peasantry, the agricultural workers, and so on. You know, so and of course, Mao's China.
The GDR logo is for the defense of workers and peasants' power. You know, like
exactly.
It's everywhere. You know,
so the peasants have proven themselves. Absolutely, the peasants are undoubtedly, at least the lower peasantry. The lower peasantry absolutely has an enormous amount of revolutionary potential. Obviously, the upper, exactly. Obviously, not the upper peasantry, because the kulaks, as you said, they are very. They want to. They've got a lot of land. They maybe have a few workers.
They're not poggers.
They're not at all poggers. And
I'm right behind on the trend there. I don't know. Like
poggers is a big thing last year that I was hearing. I'm not sure that's. But maybe people in the chat. It's.
You see, I need to be on the internet more often.
Yeah. No, you don't. You don't. You can keep on enjoying the good graphics in the real world, the better graphics in the real world. You can appreciate grass in the
spot on.
So yeah, those are some of the key things that I would get from it. It's basically that you need to do revolution everywhere. If you don't do revolution everywhere, you're not doing revolution anywhere. And that's kind of one of the key things. Another key thing is that it's not going to be an alliance with the peasantry. Certainly not going to be any. There's no room to work with a national bourgeoisie, if such a thing. They're even skeptical of the idea that a national bourgeoisie exists, which, you know, there are some. There probably is a good debate on that particular question today in many countries, but of course in countries that are semi-feudal, that are still have a predominantly feudal system, there may be some potential for a national bourgeoisie still existing. There isn't in Ireland, by the way. I'll say that straight up there.
Yeah, again, fair enough. Obviously, I mean, like how many kind of semi-feudal states really do exist?
Yeah, like the Philippines, India, there's a few of them, you know. There are many. There are a good few, but even in societies where the capitalist mode of production is dominant, there are also a lot of remnants of feudalism that are there, but probably not like the full feudal, you know, serf landlord kind of relationship that would really require.
Well, obviously, when it just comes to like India and the Philippines, I mean, I'm not really massively educated. It's just my thoughts anyway. Obviously, because they've been oppressed by their own national governments that are run by people. Obviously, you know, there is obviously imperialism at play as well.
Yeah.
But because it is their national bourgeoisie that are impressing them as well, I think of Modi and what's the guy? Is it Duterte?
Duterte in the Philippines. That's right. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. So again, I guess fair enough. You know, how much can you really ally with these people?
Well, he's a comprador. That'd be the difference there. Duterte would be a comprador who's basically facilitating imperialist plunder from the United States primarily, and then a little bit from China as well. Not much. I don't want to overblow that point, but there is a little bit of Chinese imperialism there.
We've learned that mistake.
Yeah, he's we just need to be proportionate. You know, the US is the primary imperialist power. You know, so we don't want to like overemphasize that. Yes, there is Chinese imperialism, but it's a much smaller form.
Yeah.
But basically, Duterte is facilitating imperialist rule, imperialist plunder and loot of the country, and exploitation and extraction, and so he is facilitating that and helping in that, and he benefits from imperialism. However, there is a national bourgeoisie who would benefit from a new democratic revolution in the Philippines, who would actually be at odds. So there's a section of the bourgeoisie in an antagonistic contradiction to the comprador bourgeoisie, who is serving imperialism. You know, so there's a national bourgeoisie.
Okay, I get you. Yeah.
And so there's a contradiction there that can be used. And I suppose the position there when it comes to new democratic revolution, as opposed to just the proletarian revolution that we think of generally, new democratic revolution, of course, being typified by Mao's China. What happens there? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But basically, the idea is that you've got a national bourgeoisie who are kind of a wavering ally. You know, a wavering ally. You need to keep them in check. You need to make sure that the proletariat's in charge, that they're the ruling and leading group. But there can be some room to work with the national bourgeoisie in terms of the national liberation struggle, in terms of wars of national liberation, and in terms of the new democratic revolution for new democracy. That is a new democracy, the democratic revolution from feudalism into capitalism. That has a socialist orientation, and that is often described as a dictatorship of the proletariat in its infancy. You know, so it still is led by the proletariat. and they're united underneath this. They're united under the Communist Party, and they're united under the working class, if that makes sense.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I should have prefaced by saying, no investigation, I had to speak. It was just a genuine question because
it's important.
I'm out of the loop on a lot of things.
It's an important distinction to make, and a lot of people aren't really sure about how this all plays out and like why. For example, we take semi-feudal countries and like protracted People's War and things like that, and there's a really important. It's really important to understand like why protracted People's War occurs in these peasant areas, and it's specifically because there is that relation of production, there is that relation of the feudal landlord who owns these patches of land that can be liberated bit by bit, so piece by piece. It's a protracted struggle of liberating area by area by area by area. Do you know what I mean? It's not, and this is generally, it's starting from the rural, it's starting from the countryside, generally speaking. In the traditional PPW, historically, it's starting from the countryside generally, and then it's moving into the city later. However, if you inverse that, if you look at the Socialist Revolution, like the October Road, followed by like the USSR, like the Bolshevik Revolution, it's more about taking over the cities first, and then taking it outward from there. Do you know what I mean? And this is what this is the struggle. This is the strategy that many ML organizations would have today, whereas at least ML organizations that are actually still committed to revolution and actually want revolution, they would say that basically the whole country is pretty much centralized around the cities, and it's all connected. It's all connected. You couldn't really liberate these areas in the countryside because it is also interconnected. You've got power grids and electricity grids, and you've got instant communication with the internet. I mean, so you would really need to actually inverse that. You would need to, rather than starting from the countryside and moving in towards the city, you would actually need to start from the city and then move out towards the countryside. And that's kind of, so it's the...
Yeah, it depends on your material condition.
Exactly.
I mean, like the countryside in England is just rich landlords, so it's like there's no bleach through potential there whatsoever,
So completely different,
because we have the clearances, the Highland clearances in Scotland and the clearances across all of England.
That's right.
Centralising the labouring classes into cities, whereas obviously that hasn't occurred everywhere. So yeah, definitely, it's a matter of taking into account your own particular circumstances and applying it from there, which is the way Marxism always should be. You shouldn't be reciting dogma. It's always a research of where you live and what things are like in your area and working bit by bit to solve that as well, and that's what serious ML organizations should be doing anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than a book club,
That's it, exactly. Yeah, concrete analysis of concrete conditions. You can't just have a dogma and say, well, Marx said this, so we have to do this. It's like, well, okay, Marx said this, but I mean, we've got this other thing that's working way better, So like,
it would be nice to have an October Revolution tomorrow. I'm just saying, that would be quite lovely, but
Oh, that'd be the dream. But anyway, so yeah, anyway, I don't know if I answered, but hopefully that kind of gets people some idea of what the conversation around permanent revolution really is. It's this idea of the revolution is going to start in the imperialist cores. It's not going to be an alliance with the peasantry. There's going to be no alliance between the peasantry and the proletariat. It's just going to be the proletariats. And it's going to happen very, very quickly. As soon as there's a revolution in one country, that needs to be then, you need to expand and move outward and try export that around the world. And
proper Trotsky terms there.
What's that?
Proper Trotskyist terms there, exporting the revolution.
Yeah,
almost done their reading.
I've been reading a little bit of Trotskyism. You've got to know your enemy, as they say.
Good save.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate in knowing your enemy. Like, even I will tell people to literally sit down and read Mussolini and realize how fucking stupid the shit they're saying is, how ridiculous and detached from reality it is. Read Mussolini and just read fascist shit, and it's just, or read Mein Kampf. It's just like this fucking meth-addled nonsense.
Do you want to clip that? Read Mein Kampf, anyone? I can go on Twitter.
Oh my god, there's gonna be like a best of clip from this. I'm so fucked.
No, I mean we had a guy who was a lecturer actually. Where I've been studying, and he comes from the University of Chicago. Do you know anything about the University of Chicago?
Chicago boys. This is economics.
Yeah, it's basically. Yeah, he was a history professor, but like the University of Chicago is basically just like the foundation of modern neoliberalism.
Yeah, the Chicago boys are exported all over the world. Yeah, they sent like a load of economists from Chicago, like all over the world. They sent them like the US was like exporting them to like Cuba and all sorts of places to undercut the revolution. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, sorry, continue.
No, I appreciate it. No, so anyway, the lecturer, he was doing a course about the Soviet Union, which was shit. to be fair,
neoliberal
so
economics.
he was obviously saying,
shite.
that like Lenin was a mass murderer and Stalin killed everyone, but the kulaks, the poor kulaks, they were all innocent people, and the Tsar, he wasn't that bad. He was just trying his best. And Mussolini and Stalin were the same, but the guy he was teaching was a guy called Richard Pipes, who worked with Ronald Reagan in his government. He was a historian, one of the first historians on Russia and the Soviet Union. But he was in league with the US government and played a massive role in trying to get the US government to take a more aggressive stance towards the Soviet bloc. So he's a massive warmonger. But he was like quoted as saying that, oh yeah, fascism in Italy wasn't as bad as the USSR, and all these really crazy things, And that was our lecturer. So that was a fun semester.
But he went from fascist Italy. He didn't go for Germany. It was just fascist Italy, was it? He wouldn't touch the actual Nazi regime.
Well, because the guy he was Polish originally, so his family died in the Holocaust. So I guess Hitlerism wasn't really good for him, but he wouldn't really talk about Hitler so much, And if he did talk about Hitler, he would say that the USSR was worse, so that kind of thing. But yeah, they're weird. American neoliberals, they're a special breed.
Chicago boys. Welcome.
Just nuke the place. Just get rid of it. I'm sorry. What has it ever contributed?
I would literally cheers that and drink to that and do all sorts of stuff. But I'm already fucked in terms of getting climpy climp. I'm fucked in terms of getting climped. So I can't. I've used up all of my goodwill, my good faith from the audience tonight. I've used up all of that. So fuck it. Okay,
audience, you won't clip, will you?
All right,
swear down. Come on, just give us a promise.
Go on. I'm drinking to it. All right, cheers. Go on. Ooh. Jeez, moved on to the vodka there.
Good man.
All right. All right.
You're on the vodka now. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I ran out of Desperados. So, but I had a big bottle of vodka beside me, like any good Irishman should, at all times. Now, let me tell you, there's a really good question, or actually a really good comment from Jess in the chat there, which I want to talk about a little bit. Put it in the Discord if you want to see that. And it says, when I was talking about PPW there, Protracted People's War, we were talking about how it was like the rural and urban divide, and how it would start with historically it would start like with the rural areas, and you'd liberate these areas piece by piece, from the landlords, from the feudal landlords, and then you'd surround the cities and move in on the cities. So that's how you generally take it. You move from the rural to the urban. Now, Jess says, I wonder if PPW could have groups in the country and groups in the city organising at the same time, keeping in constant communication. PPW is something I really want to study more. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly modern Marxist-Leninist Maoist organisations would take that approach. That's very much the approach that is taken and has been taken since the Peruvian Revolution. And what this is called unified people's war, unified protracted people's war. And this means that you actually have the revolutionary movement going on in the city, in the urban areas, as well as in the countryside areas. It's going to depend on the material conditions of the country that you find yourself in, and how built up things are, and what are the conditions of the countryside, what are the conditions of the cities, but with regard to the revolutionary movements that occurred, particularly in the second half of the 20th century, particularly the national liberation movements, national liberation struggles all over the world, it's been pretty much proven concretely that you can have protracted guerrilla warfare in urban environments. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't codify that along the lines of protracted people's war, going from your strategic defensive into your strategic equilibrium, and then your strategic offensive. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't do that. Your mass bases will look different because you're not liberating areas from oppressive feudal landlords. Your mass base would then become like something like, for example, like a council estate, a council estate, which would be like a no-go area. Like we had these in Ireland all throughout like the so-called, quote, troubles, but basically from when the War of National Liberation intensified from 1969 onwards to the 70s, the 80s, 90s. It's still going on, but it was most intense during those couple of decades there.
Similar kind of thing in the miners' strike as well. Obviously not to the same extent, but like the work council estates in Yorkshire that you couldn't go to.
Exactly. When you have these no-go zones in the cities, these become the base areas, and so you can have this.
Not in the racist, like far right way, where it's like, Jesus, no, Muslims are taking over our area. No, in like, no. Like if the police come in and try and repress us, we will fucking shoot you. Simple as.
Yeah,
in Minecraft.
Working class power. Let's get back to let's get away from the scary talk and just say it's working class power. The working class is in control and in charge of these areas.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The working class has liberated these areas in this sense. Yeah. So that's called unified people's war. So you can look that up. Particularly the Peruvian Revolution would have talked about this a lot. And so you can definitely study that and get a more basically what you're talking about there. You get a lot more of that. You'll also see, for example, in the Philippines, the CPP MPA have basically revamped their urban strategy, because they had a strategy for a long time there where it was more focused on we do let's say the military work out in the countryside, and we do more of the above ground legal work in the cities. We just do trade union stuff, maybe some electoral stuff or whatever it might be. And that was the strategy that they were doing for quite some time. But they put out a directive very recently, just in the last couple of weeks, to basically fortify the urban units and to really strengthen those urban units and to get some forms of revolutionary militant activism going on in those urban environments in the Philippines now. So that's kicking off again right now in the Philippines. So I'd say watch this space, keep an eye on the news there. Definitely check the CPP MPA's website and make sure you
and full power to them as well. Victory to the revolution.
Oh, victory to the new democratic revolution in the Philippines. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just see if I can find their website. I'm just going to put a little link to it in the chat, because it's a website that keeps getting attacked and DDoS attacked. And
you might send it to me as well. I'll be interested to learn more.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop it into the chat there. I'm going to pop it into our Discord chat. So yeah, definitely pop on there. Check out it's called PRWC, the Philippine Revolution Web Central, and they have pretty much information like every day, if not every day, every other day. And you can stay up to date with Filipino revolution that's going on right now. So definitely check that out, because what you're talking about is happening right now, to some degree, not fully, but to some degree, it's happening right now. So yeah. Anyway, hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully I didn't bore the arse off you, Conrad Swann. Hopefully that wasn't too annoying.
No, I definitely learned. I'm learning a lot. Thank you. I appreciate it. Like I say, I've been out of the loop, and it's educational. I need to get back into swing of things again.
Well, I'm glad it's not boring the arse off you anyway. Good. All right, well, book it.
I'm drinking, so I'm not bad.
No, you're not drinking Guinness though, or backwards Guinness, which is a little bit of a letdown for the people who've just.
I'm afraid not. No, it's the German stuff, But one day I'll be back in the motherland and on the proper stuff again. The Guinness here is quite poor. Like, I think that obviously English Guinness is nothing like proper Irish Guinness.
No.
But German Guinness is like a new level of just shite. And it's really expensive as well.
It's like,
so a pint of Guinness is usually about €5.50, €6, and you compare that to a beer where you get like €2.80, €3.20 in some places. That's Dublin so price. Really expensive. But weirdly, the cheapest pint of Guinness I've found, and the best pint of Guinness, is in the most touristy part of Berlin. It's called Checkpoint Charlie, and it's where the old border crossing used to be between East and West Berlin. And now it's like massively touristified. It's got a McDonald's there, and the original border booth isn't even the original one. It's like a replica. And it's got people outside in American uniforms that you can pay them €10 to take a picture with them or some shit. But right next to there is the cheapest and best pint of Guinness in Berlin. Wow. I want to say best. It's like English standard, Like it's not the same as Ireland, Like. But that's $4.50.
You had a bit of an adventure in Ireland quite recently. Unfortunately, I was
I was
a COVID contact, unfortunately. But did you have fun? Did you have a good time?
Bloody typical. Yeah.
Was Ireland kind to you?
Oh, it was lovely. Yeah. I was only over there for I think 3-4 days, something, So I was just doing all the touristy things, went around the Guinness storehouse,
Nice.
Took me picture next to Connolly and put that on the gram, and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it was really nice. And
do it for the gram.
There's a lot of things. There's obviously a lot more things I wanted to do in Ireland. Like I've been to Dublin a few times now, and been to Glasnevin and the Great.
Yeah.
All those different places, and Kilmainham. Kilmainham is absolutely incredible. I love it there. But we only had a few days. You what?
Let's drink the Connolly.
Oh fuck yeah!
James Connolly.
To Conway. a king.
Tied to a chair. He couldn't even stand. Fucking too wounded from the rising. Couldn't even stand up.
Shot there in a puddle of his own blood. Bastards. Fuck the English. Simple as.
Oh my god.
But no, I spent a lot of time in my favourite pub in my favourite pub in Dublin, which is the Dame Tavern. Do you know? Do you know the Dame Tavern?
Wait, the Dame Tavern?
It's a nice gaff. I mean, it's like the Dame Tavern. Yeah. It's kind of on the outskirts of Temple Bar, which obviously ring alarm bells. This massive tourist area,
the red one.
But genuinely, it's a really nice pub. So on the outside, it's got the proclamation of the Irish Republic on it. And
that's nice.
It's got really good like local lads in there, and it's got the horse racing on, and like it's got Leeds fans in there as well. So it's a nice little local touch. The guy comes over, he brings you your beers, and it's like I think it's €6 a pint, which for Dublin isn't horrendous.
No, it is. No. That's very very bad. You only get that around that particular area in the city centre. Like you won't get that out like anywhere in the outskirts or outside that. It's much cheaper.
Yeah.
Especially if you're drinking Guinness. Much cheaper. Fucking £6 for a Guinness. It's unbelievable. Like,
I know, but this is for the city centre pub as well. Bearing in mind, like, so it's quite easy to get to. It's probably the best one in the city centre. But my favourite one so far in Dublin is the Gravedigger. The one near Glasnevin. It's like a proper old pub, and the beer. I think the Guinness there is like $5.30, which is better. But it's a really nice atmosphere. I love it there.
Yeah.
But I didn't go last time, so a bit gutted to be honest. But class.
Next time, and I'll try not to be a COVID contact next time.
Yeah, just don't get ill next time. You'll be grand.
I'll try my best anyway. Oh, come here to me. Oh no, sorry. You go ahead. You go ahead. Finish that.
I was just going to say I was planning to go over to Glasnevin actually, but then it seems to be a curse that every day I want to go to Glasnevin, it pisses it down. So it pissed it down the day I wanted to go. The last time I went, it pissed it down, and the time before that, it pissed it down. So I went to Collins Barracks instead, and saw Connolly's shirt that he wore during the Rising.
Yeah, and
also obviously a bit cringe, but Michael Collins' greatcoat when he was assassinated. That's a really fucking good museum. I rate that.
Yeah, fuck Michael Collins to be honest. To be honest with you, fucking pro-tree. Prick.
Yeah, fuck him. I mean, he looked bit, but fuck him.
Yeah. He played his part. He did his time, but
critical support to the lads that took him out.
I love that. There was actually one of the questions that I was answering, or I tried to answer earlier was reworded. Let me just see if I can answer that properly.
All right, yeah, sure.
Rate Islangan says the characters ran out. A united communist party is better. How should we approach the situation of two communist orgs of which one won't accept dissent against their lines? Should we unify? No, I disagree. I don't think a united communist party is better. You need to, anytime we have this question of unity, we need to consider, is this a principled unity or is this an unprincipled unity? Is this a unity that has been arrived at through struggle and through arriving at the correct line, through line struggle? Or is this an unprincipled unity where it's sort of saying, well, you believe in X and I believe in Y, and that's fine. We can just peacefully coexist and move forward together. Well, it's like, well, which are you going to fucking do? Are you going to do X? Are you going to do Y? This is like the Marcioites who believe that, people who don't know Marcioites, Marxism is this idea that like Trotskyism and Stalinism, quote, whatever the fuck that is, can be like reconciled. But basically,
Stalinism is base, so
la base. But I suppose the question that we were talking about earlier on, like either it comes to dictatorships, the proletariat, and socialism in one country, or permanent revolution. This whole thing, like, which one are you going to do? You can only do one of those things, I mean, now of course we know that socialism in one country actually did support the revolutions abroad and all this sort of stuff. So in many ways,
Spain, Germany,
exactly. So in many ways,
China, everywhere.
It's redundant. It's redundant at this stage. Like, over the course of the 20th century, it became redundant because it was clear that actually by doing socialism in one country, you actually were benefiting the international communist movement. So I mean, it's redundant.
I mean, what was the Warsaw Pact?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is it. I mean, like, So like this is the point. It's just like what's the point?
No, those are Soviet satellites. You got to remember these are Soviet colonies.
Yeah, lackeys to Soviet social imperialism. Yeah,
lackeys. Yeah, it's the Soviet empire.
I do think that's I do think that Colin, even with the critical analysis, that even if you do want to go down the line of saying that they were dependent on Soviet Russia, if you want to go down that line,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Even if you do want to go down that, and even if you do arrive at the conclusion that they were semi-colonies in some regard, even if you do want to go there, you're calling them lackeys. To me, that seems like you're getting into the territory of like victim blaming at that point, which is, I think you need to just.
I think it also takes away a lot of the agency of these countries. Like like they also did pursue their own revolution in the fall of Nazism. I think of the partisans, obviously, throughout all of the Balkans, and the Neues Deutschland, the New Germany thing that was founded, Freies Deutschland, Free Germany, which was founded by the ex-German German communists, and who came in and picked up the rubble from the state that the country was left in. There was a lot of agency in these places. It wasn't just the Soviet tanks rolled in and were like, well, you're ours now. There were their own revolutions there and everything.
Exactly. It was genuinely like grassroots movements from the ground up. It wasn't like the Soviets just came in and said, yeah, look, you're going to be socialist now. And that's the end of it. So it is important that we do keep that in mind. So yeah, but just this question is important because I think people who are new to the left, in particular, people who are new to the left, have sometimes quite naive ideas that we just need to have like one unified left bloc to counter the right, and that's it. We can all just get together. We're all anti-capitalist. We can all just get together under anti-capitalism. But okay, what does anti-capitalism mean? You could be an anti-capitalist and be a fucking feudalist. Do you know what I mean? So you have, you literally have people who are like, oh, I'll ally myself with anyone who calls himself quote anti-imperialist. Yeah. And it's like, well, mate, the anti-imperialist, the quote anti-imperialist you're talking about is a fucking feudalist. You motherfucker. They're the most reactionary you can get. They want to go backwards. They don't want to go forwards to communism. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, so what are you gonna do? What unity can you find with these people? What are you fucking talking about, you clowns? We want to abolish private property.
I don't know. I miss the days of when we didn't have any of these fucking factories.
It's so fucking dumb. It's unbelievable.
Return to the wheat fields. Return to the shitty peasant clothes and the sides.
But they just want to wind back the clock. They just want to turn the clock back a few hours as though the clock is going to keep ticking. Like it's so ahistorical. Like the clock moves. You go.
Yeah, but Paul, it was climate neutral. It was great. It was it was carbon neutral. It was good for the planet.
Oh, actually, good point. I'm defeated.
See, that's what we should all be campaigning for when we're doing the Fridays for Future thing.
Okay, we've arrived at principled unity. True struggle. We've arrived at principled unity. We now ally ourselves with fascists.
The world made sense then. Oh no! Don't say that. No, I just want to go to France all the fucking time and die when I'm 30. That's all I want.
Don't say die at 30. Jesus, you give me a heart attack. Fucking hell! Don't be saying dying at 30. Jesus, why are you saying that? Why would you say that? It's such a weird.
Okay, maybe we'll extend it to like 35. That's okay.
Okay, all right. Well, I got half a decade. Anyway.
Okay, yeah. You can have 5 more years of perpetual war with France and cutting some wheat and stuff, and you'll be fine.
Well, that's the plan anyway. That's my dream anyway. No, but come here to me. The thing is that I do want to say, I think it's really important that with Marxism, we understand that one divides into two. Within a party, the party itself is a contradiction. There's a left line and a right line in the party, in every party. That is, every single organization has this. If you don't have this, if you deny this, you are denying dialectical materialism, right? There is a revisionist thesis that says two combines into one. Rather than one divides into two, and it constantly seeks unprincipled unity with those with whom there can't be unity because you don't fundamentally agree and you don't actually have the same path forward. Allying yourselves with social democrats who actually want to maintain a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie rather than actually putting in its place a dictatorship of the proletariat. Do you know what I mean? Now there are, of course, there can be tactical unity on tactical issues where you can work together.
Anti-fascism.
Anti-fascism, kind of things, anti-imperialism, solidarity with various movements, whatever. You should and you have to
also fighting the rise of the cost of living and these mass demonstrations and things. Absolutely, that's
work at the level of the united front in your mass organizations and so on. Yes, however, a communist party is not that. That's not what a communist party is. A communist party is the vanguard of the proletariat. It is the highest section of the most politically advanced, detached section of the proletariat, and it needs to be, of course, feeding back in. I don't want to make it sound like it's detached, but I mean that's how Stalin kind of defines it in Foundations of Leninism. It is the advanced detachment of the proletariat.
It's detached, but part of, as well.
And this is where mass line comes in.
Class.
this is where I think that the Chinese Revolution really comes in, where you bring in the mass line and making sure that the mass line is always the party's always feeding back with the working class, with the peasantry, and always accountable to the oppressed masses at all times, and it's composed of the oppressed masses 100%, you know. And this is where, of course, Mao was actually telling people, you know, if the party is fucking up, then baby, you got to bombard the party headquarters, you got to fucking rise up and overthrow the party itself, you know, and get back on the communist path. You know. And that's what Mao literally was telling people to do, that in the Cultural Revolution. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh well, we got a communist party, so we're all unified and everything's cool. No, it's not. And the party itself is a contradiction, a unity of opposites, a unity of opposing forces. Do you know what I mean? So even within one communist party, you have that, let alone two communist parties. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's any issue. I don't think there's any issue with having different organizations. You need to keep line struggling and fighting and getting to the correct positions through that struggle. But it's only through that struggle that you can arrive at principled unity. Now, sit down and have the conversations, because there can be, between organizations, if there's a standstill and nobody's talking to each other, then there may not be any progress. Where there could potentially be progress, you can talk to other people and talk to people with different positions to yourself, but you should struggle on the issues where you disagree, where there isn't unity. You should struggle to achieve unity, you know, and then you can arrive at a principled unity together, where you can correct erroneous positions. And when you have those corrected positions, you know, when you've arrived at a conclusion together, then you can move forwards unified with that. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would say, you know.
Yeah.
But it's, and I know it can sound tiring even when you're talking about this, because it just seems like it's constantly fighting and struggling, but it is, you know. We have to fight until communism, you know. That's what I say. People support till communism, but I mean, and that's sometimes
they don't call it a class struggle for nothing, you know. Like exactly. it's not a walk in the park, sadly.
Exactly, it's called struggle for a reason.
Especially when it comes to Britain. Anyway, I guess the Netherlands, was it the Netherlands, or
that's
I think it was anyway. I mean, if you've only got two communist parties, then you're very fucking lucky, to be honest with you, because at the state of the British left anyway, we've got plenty of them. You know, we've got plenty of organisations that pretend to be Marxist-Leninist. So obviously, you know, I'm a very proud member of the Communist Party of Britain. We do also obviously have the aforementioned CPGBML, we have Red Fight Back, we have the RCG, we have like at least 6 other sects and stuff and this kind of thing, you know, and we're not going to unite into a broad, you know, we're all communists and Marxist-Leninists, so we're going to stick together. No, we have very, very real concerns with these people. You know, we've already talked about those people that shan't be named.
I just did it.
He said the bad word. He said the slur. You have to do a shot as a punishment.
Okay, all right, I'm on it. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Good lad. Proud of you.
I need a chaser.
Let's go, more drinks. But but there's a very, very good reason why the British left is like that. Is because, you know, in the fallout of neoliberalism and the downfall of the organised working class, you know, there's all these different ideas of a route out of it, and a lot of them aren't founded in the working class. A lot of them founded in universities or in people who are actually detached from the class struggle. And it's about refounding that link, and we are refounding that link as well. You know, like I think in the last 5 years we've seen the biggest number of strikes this year. And there's been a lot of really huge struggles in Britain quite recently, especially with have you heard about this, about the P&O ferries thing?
No.
No, so basically what happened is P&O ferries is like the major ferry link between England and Europe, right? Like the mainland. And overnight, the boss just put out a video and sacked all of his workers and brought in a migrant workforce that was on. He was found out and again £2 an hour to take over as scab labour, and they were bringing on armed guards and dragging people off the ships. And because of really strong union efforts and a mass show of solidarity, now the government has to genuinely consider, you know, labelling this move illegal, and that's only by the forceful resistance of the working class by saying, no, fuck you, we're not leaving our ship. You know, like we deserve a job, and we deserve, you know, this is unlawful. You can't do that, and that's obviously a wave of unionisation across a lot of the British economy now, and also in the face of the rising cost of living as well. People are starting to realise that if I'm not unionised, then my boss can just exploit me in any fucking way they want, and it's really tough. So obviously we've got a long road to go, but we are starting to get back to a strong class-based politics, and that's something that will ultimately benefit the British communist movement. And I also think through that you'll also see a lot of these smaller communist parties kind of fall to the wayside in irrelevance, and hopefully you'll see a stronger actual British Communist Party arise out of it, ready to challenge, ready to take on the challenges in the modern day as well. We're not there yet. We're getting there, and I'll add my part to the struggle when I'm back home again. But that's the hope, and I think we're in a very strong position anyway. But yeah, the state of the British left, we've got so many parties. You're very lucky to just have
two. Yeah, and I would say let the line struggle commence. Like fight for the correct line between the organizations, and within the organizations, and also between the organizations, because one of you is going to have the correct lines and one of you is going to have an incorrect line. It's not, we don't want to take like a moral relativist position where it's like, oh well, they just have a different position on this, and like, because then we could be saying the same shit about the organization that shall not be named, as Swann of course mentioned it, well they just have a different position than we do with regard to whether or not trans people should exist. Are you fucking serious? What? No.
It's just a debate, mate. Like surely we're just in the free marketplace of ideas here.
That's just fucking liberal bullshit. So fucking stupid. No, they're fucking
that shit
wrong.
Won't stand, in actual working class spaces. I'm just saying,
it's fucking bollocks is what it is.
We're not in the campus rooms anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't. That whole free marketplace idea. No, fuck that. It's a load of bollocks. You're wrong. It's just they're just fucking wrong. And you need
simple
to
as, yeah.
You need to just actually just fight that position and just show them how and why they're wrong and get them to correct that position. And with that corrected position, then you can move forward and say, well, okay, should there be some merger now that there is a correct position and that we are aligned on these things? Is there a possibility for principled unity now as a result of this struggle? Okay, then we can reevaluate the situation and see.
Yeah, if it's right, do it. But if don't have unity through our congresses.
Yeah, exactly.
We've fought for our positions through very rigorous debate, and we should be proud of our positions as well. And then it's our job to defend our positions to the wider world, and also specifically in the communist movement as well. These have been democratically decided in a fair democratic centralist Congress. We absolutely have to take pride in them, and we can take that to the masses and to those who are aligned on the left. And if everything goes well, they'll come to us. But if not, then we just have to argue harder.
Exactly.
But we show our arguments through struggle. Do it through Twitter threads. We do it by being there in the workplaces, being there in the trade union meetings, being there on the shop floor. Sometimes on demonstrations if you want to be performative about it. But we have to always be there and fighting for our line and fighting for the working class to come to us. And obviously, because we are from the working class, we are working class, and we're fighting for our own liberation. We're not a detached entity, which has happened to a lot of the British left groups and stuff. It's from the working people to the working people by the working people. If you want to
from the
go a little bit Lincoln about it, but yeah, absolutely. I think you put it really well.
From the masses to the masses, absolutely beautiful. I think we just made.
Yeah, got to go Mao rather than Lincoln.
Oh, I think my dogs are going crazy downstairs.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, but community, that was a really, really great. I think we could probably end there because it's coming up to 2 hours. I think we could probably draw it to a close at that point there. And
I'm going to start getting knocks on the wall at some point.
Yeah. No, I think we might finish it up there. Let's just see if to the people in the chat there, if you want to shout out, let's get a little 07 in the chat, and I'll give you a quick shout out there. But thanks a million for coming on again, Swann. This has been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed this. It's been very it's been a relief for me personally because this week was pretty tough. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was really interesting, and I really appreciate the perspectives that you brought to the conversation. Community, before we finish up and before we do the shout outs to the comrades in the chat, because I know there's a little bit of a lag between when I'm speaking and when the people will hear this, But is there any shout outs that you want to give to anybody, to organizations, to movements, to your pal, to your ma, to your whoever it might be, anyone at all?
Yeah, first of all, just thank you for letting me on the channel as well. It's really nice to be back into the online sphere and everything. And it's always amazing to talk to you, Paul, as well, and everything. You're a good lad. You're all right. And we have some I've learned a lot. And hopefully the chat has learned a thing or two. All have just enjoyed my drunken rambling. That's also good as well. I enjoyed it anyway, so that's all right. That's the main thing that matters. Yeah, I guess I give a shout out to my mum. So she can have that. It's been a tough week for all of us and everything. Obviously a shout out as well to my organisation, the Young Communist League and the Communist Party of Britain as well. Go check out some amazing work that my comrades have been doing back at home, especially the Yorkshire district as well. Who have been doing some really effective food drives and getting involved in the community and being the direct point of contact in the communities, and making sure that we're the people distributing aid and building that solidarity rather than relying on the British state as well, especially in the political climate right now in Britain when life's getting really fucking tough. So yeah, I think British communists are doing really well, and I'm really hopeful for the future, and they've done a decent job whilst I've been gone. So yeah, I guess that's the shout-outs I want to do. Right. Maybe subscribe to the channel. I'll upload one day.
Linked below in the description box. Get over there to Socialist Swann's channel, give him a sub. He does some great work at the GDR and also on Ireland as well. I really appreciate the work you do especially with like the Fenians and stuff like that. And I remember doing a little bit of a reading of the old 1867 proclamation. Solidarity between the national struggle in Ireland and the labour struggle in Britain, which is something we need to obviously continue to make sure to reinforce those bridges, and where there aren't any bridges, builds those bridges and make those connections, and always connecting the national struggle.
Along with the solidarity between and the friendship between the British and the Irish people. Absolutely. There's a very strong history there between us, and also maybe we're a symbol for that, the two of us unite together in IH the Thatcher and the British government. It is quite fun.
There's a principle of unity to that, and I'm going to drink to that, by the way.
Yeah, and absolutely drink to that, yeah. It's also nice as well. I've had a massive gulp on that.
You've had a what?
A massive gulp to that.
I didn't have a massive gulp because it's straight vodka that I'm drinking. So I had a decent.
Cowardly. You expect to be on the barricades, but you can't have a massive gulp of vodka. Outrageous.
It wasn't a mouthful. I'm not gonna lie. It covered my tongue, but anyway, that's it.
Oh, okay. Right.
Anyway, no, this is
I'm
a lot
not sure about this. Maybe the age is getting to you.
I'm in my 30s now, man. This is how it's going to be. But this is the fucking thing. I fucking hate this. You're gonna notice this over the course of your 20s. You get to your late 20s, come to your 30s. Your friends group just seems to like drop off, and like your best mates, you're talking to them all the time when you're younger, and you're out with them all the time, you're going out and you're drinking and you're partying and you're doing all this sort of stuff, and you're in school and you're in college and all that sort of stuff. As you get older and older and older, even your best mates, it's so much more difficult to like stay in contact with them and to keep talking to them, all sorts of stuff. So even though I consider you like a good mate, it's very difficult to stay in touch, just because other things in life just seem to get in the way. You've got so much more responsibilities, and even my best mates, like literally my very best friends who I've been friends with for many decades, I see him like once every couple of months at this stage. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously we talk and stuff like that on social media, but it is unfortunately just one of those things.
That's just the alienation of capital at the end of the day as well, isn't it? Like working times and the way that the economic system we have right now oppresses us, and tries to keep us atomized and divided and focused on serving profit to our bosses rather than, having the crack with our mates and everything, and having a laugh and all that kind of thing. It's one of the other reasons why we should overthrow this shit.
We should overthrow it. Because then we could do this shit.
That's just a thought. That's just a thought.
If we instate a dictatorship of the proletariat internationally, let's go permanent revolution, Trotskyist, and we do full
search everywhere. We're going on a world tour. Let's go.
Full communism tomorrow. We could do this shit every day. We could hang out and talk shit.
Every day. We could have that 24-hour stream that we've been waiting for so long, and I know the masses have as well.
We can finally do it. All right, folks. You've heard it. That's what we're going to do. Communism. So we can stream and talk shit and drink every day. This is the future.
You see, fight hard, and then you'll get that stream.
This is what the capitalists took from you.
We used to be a proper country.
We used to be. All right, this has been great. Let me do a quick shout out to the comrades in the chat who've stuck around. I hope you've enjoyed this. I see a few 07s, a few red salutes. I see Jet Thompson Davidson. I see Eduardo Jorge who says 07 comrades, a red salute comrades. Brilliant stream as usual. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jess says it's been fun, educational. Thanks guys. Thanks Jess for being here. We appreciate it. Brad is thanking. Red Salute, JMC, Lily, Omega CJS, Bruno Santos. Oh, Omega CJS says, was a great show. Thank you very much, comrade. I really appreciate you saying that. Jason Marks, Edward, very nice. Eduardo Jorge puts in a Red Salute and I'm laughing my arse off there. I appreciate that. The Toads Rune, great to have you here. Start to finish, wow, great to see you here the whole way through. Marxism, Arianism. Paul Lewis says, thank you from the
sorry, yeah, I have to put you through that.
2 hours of nonsense from us. Paul Lewis, by the way, cool first name. Thank you from the US. Constantine Blaze.
No bias.
Good
no
solid, good solid name. Trustworthy. You know you can trust Paul Lewis. You know Constantine Blaze.
I don't know. Maybe there's a few highlights coming out about the Pole people.
Uh oh, you know? Paul Cockshaw. Checkered history of Paul Cockshaw there. Yeah, but anyway, so far so good. Good stuff, comrades. I listen while cleaning my house. Glad to help you out while you're cleaning your house. Hopefully it made the chores a little bit more bearable. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Caramel Danson says get well soon. Paul's pupper. Yeah, hopefully the stitches haven't been torn open, unfortunately, over the with that scream there. Hopefully they were just they were playing a little bit too rowdy.
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, let's open on. Let's see who else we got there. Paul Lewis again, red salutes. Julia A, red salutes, and who else we got here? Why don't you just go out for a drink once a week? I need to go out for a drink once a week. I need to get it more. Now that the COVID restrictions are down, I used to do this. I used to do it every single Friday night. But just over the course of COVID, that kind of fell off the agenda just because all the pubs were closed. But I got some great pubs, got some great locals around here, so I need to get out more. Jess says, "Boy, Paul, Socialist Swann."
I'm so jealous of the fact that you have some amazing pubs.
We've got the best pubs. Oh, they're just so grimy and gritty, but also cozy and warm and snug. But there's also a little bit of grime everywhere. There's the rocks on the walls.
It has to be nasty but nice, doesn't it? Like that's what it's got to be.
Nice, yeah.
There was another pub that was it's where like the Irish Citizens Army was like organised or some shit. I can't remember what it's called now, but that was really fucking good. I like live music and everything as well. That's the thing that makes it, when it's got the live music.
You're gonna hate me, but I don't know the name of that. Fuck me.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, because it's quite generic. I didn't describe it well at all, but I'll find the name of it. Give me a second while you do
pull it up there, and I'll just do a quick shout out to the rest of the comrades in the chat there. Jess says, "Bye, Paul, Social Swann, and people in the chat. Thanks for distracting me just enough from my bullshit job." Red salute, comrade. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it useful. Check out Unified People's War, and hopefully you'll find some information on regarding conducting revolutionary activity in both the rural areas, countryside setting, as well as in the more urban city settings as well. Yeah. Sever Dislike says, just become lecterns. We'll work on it. We'll do what we can. Eduardo Jorge says, by comrades. Oh, George. I think Eduardo is actually I think that's Portuguese, so I think that's probably George or something like that. Jacques Harkins.
Mr. Worldwide.
Trying my best. Well, my wife speaks Portuguese. I have to know a couple of words.
You have to know one or two things.
Fucked if I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, it's the cobblestone. That was it. The cobblestone.
The cobblestone. Oh, I love it. I fucking love it. It's amazing. Yeah. How did I fucking?
So good, isn't it? Boss.
Absolutely. Yeah, love it. Great. It's beautiful. All right, who else we got there? Marxism, Jason Marks, who says thank you for the righteous camaraderie, guys. And there's a clink of champagne glasses, if you believe that. I love it, absolutely love it.
Ah, sorry, bougie.
It's bougie.
Unless you pay me to drink that, then I'll absolutely have that.
I don't know. I'll take the class traders. I'll take them. I'm okay with the class traders.
Oh, yeah. As long as a drink, but I'll have to get them from a beer first. Maybe end the night on a nice bit of wine, drunk the buzz off that.
Well, I'll accept the support from the class traders who are willing to. Anyway, I'll put my Patreon link below, guys. Patreon link below.
Engels, he was obviously the best class trader, and the patrons are just right there in the description.
I'd say he provided some pretty good champagne to our pal Marx. I'd say every once in a while they cracked out the champagne, had a great out even to themselves.
He cared for his spa.
I'd say he fucking did, yeah. All right, Bruno, thank you for the stream. Jack Harkins and Social Swann, Marxist Mars and Boypon Social Swann. Paul Lewis says dad named after Paul Robeson, by the way. True. Cool. All right. Based wife.
Okay.
And
there's a Paul Robeson Street actually in Berlin, which is really fucking cool. It's near the Cuban embassy.
That is pretty cool.
It's quite nice.
It's cool. That's beside the Cuban embassy.
I actually went to a party at the Cuban embassy. That was so cool.
Way. Yeah.
Yeah, I met the ambassador, the Cuban ambassador in Berlin.
In Berlin?
That was absolutely boss. Yeah.
Was it cool?
Yeah. She absolutely cool. And we also got free drinks. So
did they? How was their speaking? Like, because there can sometimes be a language barrier. Was it okay?
Well, obviously they spoke. I think they spoke in Spanish mostly, but like every now and then they switched to German. So I kind of like picked up a few things, but I was just happy to be there.
Yeah, of course.
I took a flag home. Yeah. So I've got a little Cuban flag in my room now.
Class. All right, listen, Swann, it's been absolutely great. I really enjoyed it. Thank you again to everybody in chat. I hope you've had a good time. We'll be back doing this again soon. I'll try to do a stream every week, and I'm going to try and get Socialist Swann to come back on a lot more. I'm going to try and drag him back onto these streams because this was just such good fun. I really, really enjoyed this, and I hope everybody else.
No, you can't take me back onto the internet. I've got grass to touch.
I'm going to turn you into a streamer, and people are going to be clipping you and chimping you. Out of context.
I've been spared from it quite recently. I've been thoughtful, but maybe after like the third stream, then maybe the bad things come out, and then I have to retire from the internet forever.
I think after the 8.
But no, this has been so fun. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here. It's been absolutely great. All right, folks. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care. Lots of love, solidarity. August Slán go fóill. Take care, guys. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Stay there.